These are pretty cool.
And we're live. Hello, Steve. Yeah, that's the Kanye one. That's the most recent. That's this guy Plasticell, Fong Tran. He creates all these. He hand paints each one.
They're really nice.
Yeah, he sculpts it
Very
and
nice.
then he makes like a mold, and then he's got a bunch of dope ones. It's all on his line. And you got a book, bro.
I do.
Color of Noise.
Blue, the Color of Noise. Yeah.
What's this about?
It's my memoir. It's talks about the beginnings. Goes through my process. It goes through a lot of different things. I mean, at the end of the day, it's memoir. So it's more about, it's less about what's happening now and more about like how I got there, you know, like the story and different piecemeal stories that are thematic and, you know, with this overarching idea of blue, which is like the different shades of blue of my life. It's my favorite color. And actually my last name means blue tree.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's like there's a lot of synergy with the color. So when I was coming up with the idea to name the book, you know, I had to think of like, you know, something that relates throughout my whole life. So there's so many different shades, emotions, feelings that are represented in all these different stories.
Have you always been a writer?
I'm like I guess like a piecemeal writer, you know. I needed help finishing this book. There's no doubt about it. I had so much. It's like, you know, because I'm still like, you know, of the pen and paper still, you know, like I grew up before computers and all that stuff. When I was writing lyrics for my bands, it's always like a notepad. So I had just so many different stories that I didn't know how to put it all together. I started the inception of writing, you know, these different stories of my life 6 years ago. And then I shot a documentary for Netflix and we dropped it. It's called I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. We dropped it 4 years ago, 2015, 2016, I think. And after I saw the reception and how people responded to the doc, then I knew that, like, you know, this is really going to take shape. This is going to be front and center, is finishing and writing a proper memoir.
So the idea of writing a memoir is only the idea of writing about yourself is only to write this memoir. It's not like you write on a regular basis.
No. I mean, you know, like I am actually coming up with some new ideas for the next, you know, conception of what I would put out there in book form, because it's a different process for me. That's quite exciting, just to like the challenge to do something like this, because my natural way to express myself is through music. And I love being able to step outside my comfort zones. I think at the end of the day, when you do that enough, you just get better as a human being.
Yes.
And try, you know, if you always do the same thing over and over again, you're never really learning. So it's been like a great learning process, you know, putting out this memoir and like actually opening up this vulnerable side to who I am that I don't talk about really, you know, like for people that know me, like my fans or my music fans or anyone else that knows Steve Aoki, they don't really know what's in this book. You know, they might have a glimpse of it from my documentary, which I did, because I talk really deeply about my relationship with my father and like this drive that I have as a kid to make it. And it shows you enough where it's like, okay, now I have a little bit more than my live shows and what's already out there. But this goes, you know, obviously a lot deeper because it's a book and we're going through emotions and the vulnerability and I want to tell stories of the hardships. And at the end of the day, I want to speak to young kids out there, young people out there, even older people that are trying to figure their own thing out. And because the documentary related in so many ways on the personal level that I shared there, this is how I wanted to share that through my own words.
Do you find that writing these things down and just thinking about your life and trying to express it in a way that's going to resonate with people, that this helps you think about it and helps you sort of categorize it and put it all in your head? And because do you know Eddie Wong? Do you know who that is?
Yeah.
The famous chef?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
He's a friend of mine, great guy, and writes every day. And I asked him why. I'm like, why are you writing? Because he's written books, but he writes to sort of collect his own thoughts.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. It's like that's the trigger for me, because even when I read, I write right after, like what I gain from it. Almost like it's like my homework.
Yeah.
For retention on what I gather or took away from what I'm reading. So I'm always like reading and writing, or writing and scribbling in my book, or like writing off the side in a notepad, or like now, like, you know, like a tablet or something. But it's like you need to gather your headspace so you have retention.
Yeah. You write to understand.
Right.
Yeah. And then you write to express it so that other people can understand.
Yeah.
And in that process, you kind of understand yourself better.
Right.
I mean, that's how sort of Eddie described it. And when he said it to me, I was like, God damn it, I don't write enough like that. I write more comedy stuff. I'm trying to write material and essays on things and pull jokes out of them.
Right.
But like, I think there's probably a great benefit for anybody to just sort of write about your thoughts.
Yeah.
Dear diary. You know, even just that kind of, you know, I mean, there's something to that, because in that time, I mean, you could speak to this because you've written a book on yourself, but in that time of writing about yourself and reflecting upon your life, you probably learn a little bit about who you are and why you're the way you are.
Yeah. And, you know, thinking about this, I never really thought about it to this point, or found the parallel here. But when I started seeing a therapist to go into my past and try to break down like why I make the decisions I do, or like why I spiral out here, or do something that I'm not comfortable with, or I want to change. A lot of that I'm able, like after these sessions, I go and start writing, you know, and then a lot of that, you know, eventually makes it in the book.
Do you write longhand, or do you write on a keyboard?
I would do both. Now I do both, but like I have scribbles of stuff everywhere, you know, but then I it, like at the end of the day, for organizational purposes, it's just got to go in, like, I got to put it in a computer.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, this is my own therapy. You know, as you could say, it's like it is putting all these stories and these memories and the feelings and the emotions and the hardships, or whatever it might be, you know. It's like, I think the hardest part is like picking the right ones, you know, at the end of the day.
When you put all this stuff together and you spend so much time on this, do you find that the process of that in any way enhances your music?
Yes, it does, because, I mean, when I think about, first of all, when I think about the process of making music, I think about it very similar to what you're doing when you write for your comedy skits, and you're efficient. You're like, okay, this is going to work because I'm going to be able to share it this way. You're not just writing your thoughts down, right? So like when I'm in the studio, I'm very efficient. You know, I'm going, I'm going to make a club banger just for the festival so the crowds go crazy. And it's less about the emotional message. You know, with this, being able to talk about that side, that adds that other layer that I'm seeing now more than ever in the last like 3-4 years, when I started making songs with lyrics that actually, you know, I've seen the fans come out in droves saying how much it's gotten them through hard times because the lyrics were able to speak to them a certain way. So that's the essence of collaboration at the end of the day, you know, working with songwriters and singers, and being able to be pulled in that direction is incredible as an artist, you know, instead of just having like, all right, we're making this record to make everyone go crazy, even though essentially electronic dance music is all about the music.
Yeah.
It's not about, you know, the touching lyrics. They might be like the flavoring on top, but the foundation is all about the beat, you know. But now it's like about mixing both worlds as much as possible. You know, because at the end of the day, when you think about my shows, it's a very full-on experience. Like when I put on a show, I'm trying to compound all the senses. You know, I want it to be entertaining as hell. I want it to be fun, engaging. I want you to leave knowing that you saw a Steve Aoki show. So that's why I try to do different, unique things. Like, you know, I cake people. I don't know if you know this, but I cake people at my shows.
Cake them? Like you hit them in the head with cakes?
Yeah, I would say the head, but yeah. But this is all consensual, by the way. So I'll give you a little story of this. So, you know, I think as you are on the stage all the time, you want to make your skits, you want to make everything that you do unique to Joe Rogan. You know, like you don't want to be like, oh yeah, he's a copy of this person. No one wants to be that, you know. So I'm thinking like, what am I going to do that's going to be unique and different, engaging? Hey, ho, you know, like everyone's doing that. Everyone
Right.
sit down, everyone jump. So, you know, I'm like, you know, your brain's always thinking. So I got an idea after a song that I released on my label. I have my own label. And we released this artist where the video was cakes exploding in people's faces. Super slow motion, high def, really beautiful. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go to a bakery. I'm going to buy a cake, scribble like the song on the top of the cake, and let's just see what happens. It'll be a funny little thing, you know. And I brought this is 2011, mind you. So this is 7 years or however long ago that was, you know, a long time ago. I didn't do the math. Anyway, so it was a long time ago. And I walked around the front of the stage, and one of the kids in the front, one of the guys up front was just like, why is he walking around the front? Like, am I supposed to like grab it? And then he just starts pointing at his face, and then all his friends around him are pointing at him, and the whole place was just staring and waiting and watching and wondering what the hell's going to happen. So I caked him. We filmed it before. This is pre-Instagram. Put it up on YouTube. It's like, I got to do this every show. This is incredible. And then 6 months later, people started coming out with cake me signs. 6 years later.
Look at this.
Okay, here we go. So 6 years later, like I think I've caked over 15,000 people now. You know?
Oh my God. Jeez, look at her go crazy. You hit it right in the mug too, dude. Perfect shot.
I'll tell you, I mean, you know, it's just practice makes perfect, you know?
Yeah, you've thrown 15,000 cakes. I get you get a feel for it. Look at her. She's dancing.
Yeah.
Wiping it up. Let me see one more time.
This is like, that was ultra.
Boom! Oh my goodness.
We have a cake rider. We have very specific cakes at our, you know, at our show. You have it's like a special Aoki cake.
What is in it?
The strange thing is there's like not as much cake as you would think. It's just like frosting. It just explodes everywhere.
So it's less bread.
Yes.
Just
So like less carbs, more sugar. Like if you're diabetic, just get out of the front row, please.
what a crazy thing for people to enjoy too. Getting
Yeah.
caked in the face.
Yeah,
That lady
but-
was having a good fucking time.
That's the most important thing at the end of the day is like
Look
my
at
shows.
this cake me with a bullseye.
Okay, this is very normal for me to see. You know, like in some cases there's like 50 people with signs up. You know,
that is so crazy. Look at that cake face. The one in the upper. Oh, I want cake in my face.
yeah. I mean, it's just it's a signature part of the show. It's fun. It's exciting.
Dude, I need to go to one of your shows because everybody that I know that's been says it's a wild experience. It's not just music. It's just there's something like you're doing something transformative. You know that people come out of there. They're just like, whoo, they're buzzing.
Yeah,
and they're
yeah.
flying.
That's the goal, you know. And if I feel like I'm doing that, if I feel like I'm really having this impact, then I go. That's why I end up doing like so many shows because on average, I'm doing about 250 shows around the world every year.
That is so crazy.
And I've done this consistently for over 12 years. So it's not like an artist that just drops an album and then they tour like around the world for a year or two. Like I'm on a worldwide tour, you know, every single year.
Is that sustainable? How's your body holding up? I know
Yeah.
you work out a lot. I know
Yeah.
you're really into health and wellness and all that stuff, but that seems insane, particularly with all the travel.
It does. I mean, you have to like treat yourself like an athlete. That's for sure. The way I think about my regiment is different, you know, and I'm like obsessed with trying out new ideas, using myself as a guinea pig to work with different scientists, sleep doctors, you know, different people in various fields that are testing new ideas to like deal with jet lag or things that I'm dealing with that are on the road that can wear you down and make it not sustainable.
Do you do IVs?
Like stem cell?
No, like vitamin drips or anything like that.
No, I don't. But at one point I wasn't down the same road as Ray Kurzweil doing 250 vitamins a day, but I was probably, you know, experimenting with about 50.
Have you met him?
I have.
He's an interesting dude.
Yes, he is.
He's quite a trip. Like, behind his eyes, there's a lot going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I have a whole album series called Neon Future. So I have Neon Future 1, 2, and 3 that just came out. My albums, and each album, I actually work with a scientist on a song.
Oh wow!
So I had Ray Kurzweil on one. So he's talking on a song about like life expansion, life extension. I'm a big not necessarily singularity nut, but like I'm a big fan of the idea that we can live indefinitely. I'm an enthusiast of that world. I'm definitely not an expert, but I'm an enthusiast for sure.
Yeah.
And I got J.J. Abrams on 2. I got Aubrey de Grey on 2, who wrote the book Anti-Aging.
I've had him on as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I interviewed him. I went to Ray Kurzweil's apartment in the Bay Area.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I know that we have a lot of synergies on the science and tech stuff. And 3, I had Bill Nye.
Oh wow.
And 4, which is coming out next year, I'm having my favorite author on the album that I've read so far. So I'm very excited to have. I might as well announce it here if I'm going to announce it anywhere.
Okay.
I haven't announced it yet, but Yuval Harari.
Oh wow, I love that guy.
Yeah.
Sapiens is amazing.
Yeah, Sapiens is my favorite book.
I'm on the second one right now.
Yeah, I just finished Homo Deus, and I mean, he has a very I think of the future very positively. It's a neon future.
Yeah, he doesn't think of it so rosy.
Yeah, but I like his analysis, and the way he's trying to understand how we've evolved or pushed outwards.
Yeah.
And I agree with a lot of what he's saying.
Well, a lot of what he's saying is irrefutable, but what's interesting is the way he sort of coalesces it, the way he combines it all. And you really get a sense of, wow, this is what a person is. Like, this is how it all went down. He's a brilliant guy, too. I've seen him interviewed. Really fascinating character.
Yeah. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Aubrey de Grey's a trippy dude, too, because he drinks so much.
I know.
I've hung out with him, and it's like pint after pint. I'm like, hey man, aren't you supposed to be the fucking wellness longevity guy? But he's so entrenched in science that he thinks that the solutions are going to come through the laboratory.
Right.
He doesn't seem to exercise. If he does, I think he just rows a boat. Have you seen that? He rows boats around the harbor wherever he lives in England, and he drinks.
I think it's in his beard, though.
The booze?
The beard. The beard is his like magical wizardry.
Yeah.
But actually that's against science. But yeah, he's a very interesting guy. I have a foam pit in my house. He jumped in my foam pit. Watching a 50-year-old man with a beard down to his below his nipples jump into a foam pit. It's actually pretty cool.
That is cool.
A scientist as well. Just like it's.
That's cool that he's willing to be silly.
Yeah, exactly. And I have I have the Aoki Foundation, which I'm wearing. I'm obsessed with the human brain. So all of our money that we raise goes to brain research organizations, brain science orgs, and but also orgs that deal with anti-aging or anything that's interesting that relates to living longer, healthier lives. And one of which is the SENS org, which is Aubrey's org.
Have you ever heard? Do you know who David Sinclair is?
Remind me.
He's a Harvard professor. He's on the podcast next week. He's been on before, but he is at the front of the line of anti-aging technology. And the podcast I did with him was incredible. He's a brilliant guy, dealing with things like NMN and NAD and all these different drip infusions and concoctions and molecules that lengthen telomeres, enhance the body's ability to regenerate and age much slower. Really interesting stuff.
Well, I love that stuff.
Yeah. So did you get in this because you're thinking about your own mind, or is this just something you've always been fascinated by? I
think it started when after my father passed away. Seeing the death of your father, he died of cancer, but it started with hepatitis C from a boat accident he had in the late 70s.
The boat accident gave him hep C. How did that happen?
Blood transfusion.
Oh, wow.
And then he was surviving with hep C for decades. Changed his interferon and the things that were keeping him going before there's a vaccine or cure. This is all before then. I'm I'm not sure if there is, but I'm almost positive there is. But
yeah, I think there is. I think
Yeah.
it's a very expensive, involved process.
but that like hurts. You know what I mean? It's like
Right.
if someone dies close to you, and then like something like that happens.
Yeah.
So this is all happening, right? And I see him die, and I'm also like, you know, I think I know about health. I'm vegetarian, you know, this, that, and the other. I'm like sort of healthy. But after I saw him die, I read books on cancer. I started reading, like, trying to research, like, what could I have done to help my father? And I still have people in my life that I absolutely love that I want to learn and share, like my mother, like, you know, anyone else that's like close to me that's getting older. And then I just went on this like bender, like, you know, reading books on anti-aging, and then, you know, I'm really a big sci-fi nut. So if anything, I love living between the world of science fiction and science fact, and finding out in that gray area what is going to be science fact in our, you know, as long as I'm alive, you know. And there's a lot of things happening, because I do agree with that curve, that we are not moving at a linear rate. You know, we are moving, I don't know if it's exponential, but it's definitely between linear and exponential with technology, with what we're learning in science and medicine. And as I'm learning more about this stuff, my music career is also raising, my platform as a personality is also getting raised. So then now I get to go and make a phone call to Ray, and he'll answer. And I could get to meet him. And then I want to have fun too. So I'm like, let's make a song. Let's do a video. Let's do an interview. So I created this whole Neon Future session so I could meet, you know, Stan Lee, rest in peace. Like, I got to meet him, hang out with him, did an interview with him, took some photos.
Stanley?
Stan Lee Marvel.
Who's Stanley Marvel?
Stan Lee, the Marvel comics.
Oh, Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm just
like,
going across
Stanley
the board here.
Marvel. I was like, who's Stanley Marvel? Okay.
But, you know, I'm like, I just went across the board of all the people outside of my music space that I can talk to. Science people, science fiction people,
that's cool.
J.J. Abrams, to like whoever it might be. Even authors of books I've read, like Richard Dawkins. I flew to Oxford University and I sat with him.
Oh, that's great.
And I talked to him, and he was like, I don't know why I'm here with you, but someone told me I should be, you know?
I think I'm going to get the same response. He's supposed to be coming on next month.
Yeah.
I'm
And
really excited to talk to him.
yeah, it's like,
Did you talk to him after his stroke?
no, this was, I remember him riding his bike to the interview, which was kind of cool, seeing Richard Dawkins ride his bike. It felt like Albert Einstein was coming at me or something,
Right.
you know, because he's kind of like that kind of, like he has an allure with him.
Yeah, he does.
But that was 2015, 16, I think. So
That sounds like around when he had his stroke.
okay. I mean, I actually wouldn't.
Find
I
out when
don't
he
know.
had his stroke. He's recovered very well, though, apparently. He still has some residual issues.
Oh, wow. So this is definitely pre-stroke.
May 2016.
Yeah, so this is pre-stroke.
Pre-stroke.
The crazy thing is, I did all these interviews with all these different people. Didn't actually post them up online.
Why?
We did 2 with Wired Magazine. We did the one with Ray Kurzweil and the one with Stan Lee, and I had like the rest lined up. But we wanted to, you know, like present them the right way.
There you
And
go.
yeah, oh wow, that's actually you're great on the internet.
Jamie's the best. That's cool. Is that in his office?
No, we got Oxford University gave us this room, you know, and I took it over
That's awesome.
with him.
When you talked to Kurzweil, did you get into his idea of being able to download consciousness?
No, we didn't get that far, but I would love for you to tell me more about that.
It's a weird one because we went to this, I think it's called the 2045 conference in New York City. And the idea behind it is that they think that somewhere around 2045, there's going to be some sort of a technological singularity with the exponential growth or perceived exponential growth, whatever it is, the new innovations, creating these new possibilities, that somewhere around 2045, there's going to be so many changes and so many new innovations that they believe they're going to be able to put your consciousness either into some sort of a hard drive, some sort of a quantum computer, or perhaps even a physical embodiment of a Steve Aoki. Like you have an artificial Steve Aoki.
Like a sleeve.
Yeah. And then your actual brain inside this thing. So as your body dies, now you will exist in this whatever the fuck it's made out of.
Right.
You know, and he thinks he's going to be able to do that. And, you know, he's got a really bizarre motivation, too. His father died when he was young, and he didn't really get to know him that well. And he has all these images and all these and he thinks that he is going to be able to, in some way, shape, or form, recreate his father and have some sort of a reasonable facsimile, some sort of
like a way to communicate with his
dad, like actually have his, with all the memories that he has of his father, all the video and images, and actually recreate his father to have a communication with him. It's very weird stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think a lot of those storylines get drawn out in sci-fi.
Yes.
Because that's essentially where we want to go without any issues and problems and backfire and no like Black Mirror episode, you know, kind of blunder. Because I mean, we are definitely going in that direction.
We're going in somewhere weird for sure.
We're 100% going there, and there's no stopping it.
No way. Yeah.
You just can't.
Yeah, everyone's buying new phones and new technology, and we're pushing it as far as we can. There was a guy, I think it's from the University of Connecticut. He is the preeminent researcher on time travel. And he is right out of a fucking Spider-Man comic book. His dad died when he was young, same sort of situation. And he wanted to figure out a way to go back in time and save his dad. So he's literally trying to come up with a workable theory for time travel. That's the gentleman. What is his name?
Dr. Ron Mallett.
Yeah, Dr. Ron Mallett. And it's right now, I mean, he's got a working theory, but it becomes a matter of having enough energy to actually pull this off. But the idea behind it was all inspired by his father dying, and he thinks he's going to be able to, or someone may be able to go back in time. But when
you hear stories like this, right? When you hear the story, because I know like this is like what you do. You get to talk to all these people. Do you believe them to a certain extent, and then you go? Because for me, I need the scientific understanding.
Yes.
I'm not too much into the paranormal. I need to like understand to see if this actually is conclusive.
Well, I think he found out something unfortunate in that the idea, as far as time travel as we know it, will only exist from the time the time machine is invented forward and backward to that moment. The idea, like Terence McKenna described it, the idea that you cannot travel where there are no roads. And so once a road is established, then things get really fucked up. Because if you create a time machine, at least as in terms of what they understand or what Dr. Mallett believes about time travel right now, and I hope I'm not butchering, I'm sure I'm butchering it, but I hope I'm not butchering it too bad. You can only travel back to the moment the first time machine is invented. So once that door is open, then time ceases to become linear. Anything from the end of time till the invention of the time machine happens all at once, because anyone can come back to that moment, because the time machine exists now. It's made, so of course they're going to innovate. Anyone in the future is going to innovate. These people that do innovate are going to have a much superior version of this time machine, and everyone is going to be able to go back to the moment that the time machine is invented in any point along the way, from the end of time to the beginning of time, from the moment that time machine is invented.
So in that case, if that really is the case, has a time machine been invented?
I don't think it has.
Why?
Well, I could be wrong.
Yeah, but what's your
I think everything
thoughts?
is going to be completely fucking gonzo. You're going to have people appearing and disappearing and showing up and going.
And it's a normal thing. It's like, oh yeah, he's traveling through time. It's just how.
Not only that, like all events. Say if like
but you
there was a
would
World
you
War
know
V.
that? But
what if you was a World War V 100 years from now, and you were like, fuck this, I'm going back in time 100 years before World War V, and I'm just going to live there. And they decide to do that, or World War III or World War IV. They just keep going back in time and forward in time. You could go, if you had a time machine, and the time machine was, and again, I'm butchering this, I'm a moron, I'm not a scientist. But if you had a time machine, and time machines existed from now until, the perceivable end of the lifespan of the Earth, right? When the sun supernovas and there's no more life left on Earth, you could kind of go anywhere you want from now to 1,000,000 years from now, as long as there's a place to go.
Right.
As long as there's a time machine available. And the idea is that time as we know it will cease to exist, because our time now is dependent on our biological entities waking up, moving forward. What time is it? Oh, it's 3. My meeting's at 5. Better hurry over to downtown. Traffic's rough this time of day. All that stuff's going to be nonsense if there's time machines, because you're just going to be able to move anywhere you want at any point in time. Sounds ridiculous, but so does the internet. If you brought the internet up to some guy who lived in Victorian, times,
Right.
and say, "Look at this. This is my phone," and you can ask it a question, it'll give you all the answers,
Yeah.
anything you want. That would be the most astounding form of witchcraft ever invented. And now my 11-year-old daughter has one of those.
Yeah.
She asks that thing questions all the time. She gets answers to stuff all the time that we used to have to go to a library for. And she could watch videos that just come out of the air.
Yeah.
That's magic.
Yeah.
But we're accustomed to it.
Right.
We adapt very
Exactly.
easily. So the idea is that what this would do is change every aspect of reality as we know it. In terms of like linear time, it would no longer exist.
But would only those people that know how to use a machine have access to it?
Well, wouldn't it be like cell phones? Like, eventually everybody gets one, and we're talking about time, right? So if everybody gets access to it a year from now or 3 years from now, it doesn't matter because the time machine's already been invented, so they could travel back to that moment and forward from that moment. So the moment they turn that fucker on, everything goes haywire.
Wow. So let's not turn that thing on.
Oh, it's inevitable. People press
It's good.
buttons.
Yeah. They want to see if they can even make that happen.
I used to have a bit that I used to do about the Big Bang because everyone's always tried to figure out like what was the universe like before the Big Bang? Like what happened? How was it created? And when you look at the progress of technology, my thought was that if you look at where we're going and we're constantly innovating and people are constantly coming up with new and more impressive forms of technology, that one day we're going to create a Big Bang machine. And that this is what happens. That every 5 billion years or so, things get so intelligent, they develop a Big Bang machine. And they sit around, these dudes are on Red Bull and Xanax. And
Simulation.
And one guy goes, "I'll fucking press it." And he hits the button and boom, the whole universe starts all over again. And if you had a Big Bang machine and you knew that if you pressed it, within 5 billion years, humans would create another Big Bang machine. This is an endless cycle. Would you press it? Fucking for sure there's someone that would press that button.
Yeah.
There's 100% a person out there that would press that button.
Yeah, no, I heard more about the simulation idea.
Well, that's another idea, but Elon believes that. He believes that it's very possible. Like one of the things they said, if you could ask AI, what would you ask? He said, "What's beyond the simulation?" Like he believes this is a simulation. But if you're Elon Musk, of course you'd believe it's a simulation. People are letting you drill tunnels under LA and shoot rockets off into space, and you're making electric cars, fucking solar roof panels. I mean, he's literally living like some character in a movie. He's
That's
like
true.
Professor X or something.
Yeah, but if you're in the simulation, there's nothing you can do about it, right? So you just might as well just do it all. So it's a great way to think about life.
Right. Well, what is a simulation if everything is a simulation? It's still life. Right? Like your existence is still everything you're accustomed to and everything you experience. And if it is a simulation, at least some aspects of this are comfortingly like obvious. Like work hard, you can get better at things.
Right.
You can, be nice to people, they're nice to you. Like be a good friend, you get good friends. Eat healthy food, you're healthier. Like there's like some comfort to the lack of there's certainly some variables that are very difficult to account for, but there's a surprising amount of life that's pretty straightforward. So if it is a simulation, it's not the most difficult one to follow. It's pretty crazy and chaotic, but there's a lot of comfort in it. Like as much as we try to dwell on the horrors of humanity, and there's certainly a lot of them, because God has a lot of beauty in people too. Yeah. And there's a lot of cool shit in people. You know?
I mean, when you focus on that, then there's real growth.
I was at the Comedy Store last night till like 2 o'clock in the morning in this comedian's bar, just hanging out with all these comedians. We're just laughing and talking, and there's no audience, just a bunch of people that get paid to make people laugh. Like Jon Stewart was back there, Michelle Wolf, and all these really funny comics. We're all just laughing, having a great time, and talking. And I was like, wow, this is so nice and it's so fun. It's rewarding It's like there's cool things in this life.
Yeah.
If you can find good people and friends and communicate and spread love and have interesting, fascinating, thought-provoking conversations, there's a lot of really positive things.
Right.
So if this is a simulation, it's a pretty badass simulation for Steve Aoki.
Yeah, definitely.
Man.
And for Joe Rogan,
Yeah,
too.
we're out there caking people and shit, making a brain foundation. I mean, what a fucking great simulation you're in.
Absolutely. I think, yeah, it's like you can make what you want of it. I mean, it might not be the dream like the Elon Musk scenario right away, but it takes time to get there.
Well, you don't want that dream. I don't want his dream.
Yeah, exactly.
His dream's crazy.
Well, I mean, his dream of like you said, he's just like almost a superhero. He's Bruce Wayne, He's
Yes.
doing whatever, he's Iron Man,
Well, some cars have small engines, right? There's Honda Civics out there, and then there's fucking rocket cars. He's got some sort of crazy quantum rocket car engine for a brain. Like,
Yeah.
Have you talked to him?
No, I haven't.
He's a trip.
He's actually on the list of people I would love to be in the studio with, to make music with, and just get into his mind a bit. I've been putting that out there to the universe.
He's one of those guys that when you're talking to him, you have this feeling that he's running code in the background while he's talking to you. I think he just gets bored with like regular mundane conversations, and he's got 50 million things going on constantly. And he's also he was talking about it to me about how difficult it is to manage his mind. It's like, you wouldn't want to be me. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. He thought he was crazy when he was younger because so much was bouncing around in his head. And he realized that other people weren't like that. And he's like, oh, no. But
I'm alone.
yeah, I mean, literally, he's probably alone. Who the fuck is like that guy?
Right.
In terms of a public intellectual who's responsible for so many groundbreaking technologies, the number one electric car in the world, SpaceX, tunneling under LA with the Boring Company. I'm like, he's a crazy man.
Yeah.
Fast. Thank God he's around, though.
Yeah, I know.
People like that. It's so cool to have a true outlier.
Right.
Someone who's just really out there, and oh man, he's constantly attacked and maligned, and people are misrepresenting him, and people are all the crabs in a bucket don't like it. They're trying to pull him down. He's too goddamn smart. All these people that fancy themselves smart, you meet that guy, and you're like, oh, okay. There's levels to this game.
Yeah, no, he's like the top of my list. Just to be in his presence. But I think it would be very exciting to try to do a song with Elon Musk.
I'll ask him. Well, after the podcast,
That'd be
we'll
great.
send him a text message.
Yeah.
So he's probably busy.
Yeah. I could always make it as easy as possible.
Yeah, but just go to SpaceX or Tesla or wherever you're at. Oh. So what in particular are you doing with this Brain Foundation?
I mean, I think one of the most important things is inspire people more about the brain. Obviously it's to raise money for brain research orgs. For one, finding cures for degenerative brain diseases, and two, just understanding the brain more, working with orgs that want to understand the brain more so that we can expand what our limitations are, in the conversations that we're talking about, bring some of the science fiction and the science fact. I love this idea that telekinesis is when you can move things with your mind.
Do you think that's possible?
It already is.
Really?
Not like in the supernatural sense, like Magneto. It's it's happened 5 years ago. People moving wheelchairs with
Implanted things.
Implanted, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm not sure the right terms, but I've seen the videos. Like a monkey being able to move an arm to its mouth to eat the apple.
Yeah.
Those happened 2013 or 14 or fact check that, but it was not 2019. It was years ago. So whatever they're doing at DARPA, whatever they're doing at Google, whoever's got these research orgs and labs, I would love to jump in there and just put my ear out there and just listen and find out what's going on. And because I have my own interest and passion on what the breakthroughs are. And I would also love to try some of these things.
Do you think they'd let you?
Sometimes, listen, you got to try.
I think Boston Dynamics might be your best bet. The robot people.
Yeah,
they might let you in. But that's a defense agency.
DARPA won't let me in. Obviously, it will not let me in.
You're gonna have to sign some paperwork.
Yeah, but I want to get into as many doors as I can on any of this kind of stuff, and that's like my own personal gain. But
Yeah.
also with the brain org, it's just the Brain Foundation. It's just to like, you know, help out the smaller orgs too, that are one, finding the cures, because at the end of the day, what I've learned is that if you don't die of cancer or heart disease, you're gonna have a brain degenerative disease. You're gonna go crazy. You're gonna lose your memory.
You're going to deteriorate.
Yeah, and you know, in years from down the line, we're gonna be able to literally turn our body into like a used car and change all the parts.
Yeah.
But you know, if you start losing your memory, then you start losing who you are.
Did you talk to Kurzweil about this?
Yes, it was years ago. So I'm trying to remember even like the interview that we did. But I went in deep on a lot of the anti-aging stuff, and you know, I think the struggle that he's going to have is if he's going to make it to 2045, because he's 70 or something, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a.
And he has a heart. He has a genetic defect with his heart.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, he's just like one of those those heroes of mine that I was lucky to be in his space, you know, playing on his Kurzweil keyboard
That he invented.
Yeah, the synthesizer. That was a moment. We're both on the
He
keys.
invented speech to text too, didn't he?
Yeah,
I mean, he's invented like more than 100 really significant inventions.
yeah,
Fascinating guy.
absolutely.
Yeah. But can we squeeze 25 more years out of him?
Yeah,
Yeah, his biological life to get to 2045.
because if he's gonna be the one that's gonna really push that envelope hard. I think if there's anyone out there, that's why it's clearly obvious why Google picked him up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and had him like head the whole. I forgot what the department's called, but you know.
Well, didn't Google buy Boston Dynamics as well? They bought a robot company. I know that. Which is like, what are you guys planning? You can control everybody's email. You have the number one search engine on the planet Earth. You have the number one browser. Like, what are you guys doing? What are you doing over there?
Yeah.
You making
Yeah.
robots?
But don't you want to be in the room?
Yeah.
You
You
know?
want to be in the room, but you know some of their choices are a little bit questionable. It's there's so much. There's science, but then there's so much. There's social decisions, you know, that they're making in terms
Right.
of like what people get to see and talk about and hear, and a lot of it is based on the zeitgeist. It's based on the current state of politically correct ideology, what you can and can't say or can and can't do, and that becomes really dangerous because you're kind of controlling information, you're throttling information. Like, you know, Tulsi Gabbard is suing Google for what is it, like $50 million or something crazy like that. They say that they purposely stifled her search engine results so that people wouldn't be able to find her as easily, and she's apparently proven it.
Wow.
Excuse me. So it's not a pure information-based company. There's ideology behind it. There's motivations behind it that, you know, politically leaning motivations.
Right.
You know, so I don't know.
Yeah,
They
when
do
he
a lot
goes
of
into
great
that,
shit, though.
when
I
he
love
goes into
them.
that world, I'm like, oh, you forget about that sometimes when you're like,
Yeah.
I want to be in the breakthrough rooms, you know?
Well, there was an internal memo where they were referring to Ben Shapiro and someone else. I think it was Jordan Peterson and maybe Dennis Prager as Nazis, which is hilarious because both Ben Shapiro and Dennis Prager are both Jewish. So it's like their perception of who a person is. This was brought up. This is brought up by people in Congress. Like, they had to have hearings on it. They're trying to figure out, like, what is Google doing? Like, how are you allowed to define people internally in your memos? And then, of course, once you call someone a Nazi, then you can act as if they're a Nazi and you know, stifle any sort of search on them or stifle results or, you know,
Yeah.
point people in the direction that you think would be better for humanity versus just pure information. And it gets very weird, you know. But as a technology company, look, they're amazing. Like, just what they're doing with Android and Google searching and Google Assistant and Google Maps is by far the superior map application on the planet Earth, and it's constantly getting better and constantly gathering up new information. I mean, part of me loves the fact that they exist, and part of me is like, that is too much power. That's too much power for one company to be able to influence people one way or the other.
So what's the Joe Rogan solution to something like that? Regulations?
No, well, I'm too stupid for this. I need to rely on people that have actually spent real time studying the effects and understand it from a very deep level. I don't. I understand that it's problematic. I just don't understand what the solution is, and I don't know if it's just a free distribution of information across the board, because then what do you do about actual Nazis? Like if you find there's a new Hitler and he arises and he really does want to exterminate the Jews. What happens there? Do you just allow that guy to be on Google? Is he on Google Hangouts with a little Nazi hangout? They're planning on exterminations and where's the next Auschwitz? No. I don't think that shouldn't be the case.
Exactly.
No. So what is the case? Do you allow white supremacists on there to organize rallies? Fuck. Where does freedom of speech end? It's very complicated questions that we're all learning to navigate.
Yeah.
I think in many ways, and this is a weird thought that I have and I repeat it over and over again, but I think technology is going to provide us with a new way of communicating that's not dependent upon language, but rather can read actual intent, like an actual mind-reading technology. And when I see Elon's Neuralink, this thing that he's trying to do where they're opening up the bandwidth to humans and information through use of implants and some sort of a Bluetooth wearable device, like that I think is like a step in that direction. And I think Elon, in many interviews, he said that he thinks that human beings are the organic biological bootloader for artificial intelligence. So if we're a bootloader for AI, the way to sort of combat that is
a bootloader.
Bootloader, yeah, like a computer bootloading an operating system.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
That what we're doing is we're the biological. Well, the way I've described it is that we're sort of an electronic cocoon that's about to make the butterfly, and that we're the caterpillar that's making the cocoon, and we're constantly in pursuit of innovation.
The butterfly is the AI?
Yes. The butterfly, like if you see a caterpillar, that caterpillar doesn't know what the fuck's going on. It's just making a cocoon. That's what it does.
Yeah.
And
that's what it knows to do.
And the idea is that we don't know what the fuck we're doing either. Like, why do we need 5G? Is 4G not good enough? God damn, I get on the internet pretty goddamn quick. Like, what are we doing? Well, it seems like 5G is better, and 6G will be better than 5G.
Yeah.
And if you want to get that mind reading software, you got to get 7G. And we're gonna do this to the point where one day there's going to be a real thing sitting in front of you.
But we will merge with the AI, because that's the future that I hope for. You don't lose yourself in that, But
are you yourself once you've merged with the AI? And then what's holding you back? God, all these emotions are bullshit. That's getting in the way.
Right.
Let's get rid of those.
Yeah.
Let's just have pure people.
Yeah.
Pure people now available through Nabisco.
It's interesting because like my whole point with Neon Future is the convergence of, the ultimate goal is the convergence of technology and our humanity to the point where we live, forever through. This downloading system that we're talking about earlier on, or whatever seemingly makes sense in the trajectory of where technology is going. Mm-hmm. So we do live indefinitely. That's like for me as well. My insurance policy for if I don't make it to this point, like my dad didn't make it to that cure, is obviously cryogenically freezing the body.
You're gonna do that?
Well, I'm already signed up.
Jesus.
So, because I feel like, if we are really, this discussion is, are we going to make it there in our timeline? I'm 41, so I have a better chance than Ray Kurzweil, obviously.
Yeah.
So, if I really believe that, I guess it's hopeful, that we'll get to this point in our generation that they'll make it. It's that close, right? So either we make it and then I die and then everyone lives forever. Do I want to be that generation of people that die, or the generation of people that go, oh, death is a cure we just found. We found a cure for death, just like a cure for cancer, just like a cure for whatever.
What if after your biological body ceases to function, you move into a new realm of reality that is a completely different dimension that's filled with love and understanding?
Like the after death.
Yeah.
What's the after, whatever it is that we don't know.
There's no biological shortcomings. There's no emotions and there's no fear, none of that. And there's no bodies. You're a soul in another dimension. And then someone unfreezes you. Like, well, Steve wanted to be unfrozen and sucked back in, caking people. And you're like, fuck, man. I was there. I was on the other side.
Yeah, then like you'd be like, click, opt out.
You're like, no, I can't believe this. And so then you go, well, I'll just die again.
Well, here's okay. This is what I know, because I don't know. I mean, we both don't know what's really going to happen. That's likely. I mean, anything is likely. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not like I don't believe in God or I do believe in God. I just don't know what's really happening afterwards. But
right.
I know that what I've seen as me, what I understand of what's around me and my feelings is that if I wake up tomorrow, or if someone I love wakes up tomorrow with an incurable disease that's going to kill them, it would be the most horrific thing. And I think at the end of the day, the human race is going out to find cures for those kinds of situations.
Sure.
That's like, suffering, pain. I mean, that's what we do. We try to stop and elongate our life.
Yeah.
Essentially, we all want to live indefinitely, like through finding cures for all of these issues. So
and we want to live healthily.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to be in a wheelchair like for 50 years, just like staring at a TV.
Like Hawkins.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is... But
then again, like,
live.
Yeah, maybe he found a silver lining. I'm not sure, but if you're healthy and moving, and then boom, night and day, you're there. Of course, that's awful. But at the end of the day, you just don't want that. You don't want that kind of thing to happen.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I would rather opt out than have someone some disease make that decision for me.
Yeah, the suffering thing is the thing that we all want to avoid. We want to avoid discomfort and pain, and also causing discomfort to our loved ones. Like, one of the scariest things about dying is leaving behind grievers, leaving behind people that are sad and miss you terribly.
Yeah.
It's like when you've seen people where their loved ones have died, it's and I've lost loved ones, we all have, and it's a weird void.
It's horrific. It's traumatic, and it's that's where my conquest or my interest and passion led to anti-aging, the future, and then building on that for the ones that I love that are alive now, and doing whatever I can to share the information so that they live as long as they possibly can in the healthiest way possible. So I'm just gathering information as I go. And it's exciting because, as I was saying, as I get bigger as a personality, sometimes I do jump into these rooms. And in one case, just recently, I there's a doctor that I've worked with. I've done some stem cell injections with him in Denver, and he came to my house and he was with some other doctors, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, there's a doctor convention. I live in Las Vegas. There's conventions all the time there." So they all came over and like, "Hey, there's some breakthrough." Groundbreaking stuff that just happened this year. You can now find out on a cellular level cancer detection for at least 16 different cancers. So it's very, very preventative, far along the line. So I was like, I want in. So I got the information, and I just that was a Christmas present for everyone.
What kind of stem cell procedures are you getting?
I mean, the first time was through Dan Bilzerian. He's introduced me to the one in Panama. So I went down there.
Dr. Neil Reardon.
Exactly. But
my mom was just down there.
Oh, yeah?
Last week. Yeah, I've sent her down there twice.
That's great. And
she was on the verge of getting a knee replacement, and her knee was really bad. And 8 months. Took a while, because my mom was 73. And within 8 months, her knee stopped being in pain. And she was able to walk, and they went to the Grand Canyon. And,
amazing.
Yeah, and now she went back again to just get a second dose and juice it up some more. It's incredible.
I just know when I was there, I saw a lot of kids in there with the one in Panama because it grows muscle or does something. I don't want to say the wrong thing.
Regenerates tissue.
Right. So kids with muscle dystrophy, kids with where they can't walk anymore, they get the stem cell injections and they can walk. And then after 6 months, the stem cells do leave your body, or it doesn't stay with
diminish,
you, right?
Yeah.
So once again, scientific terms, I could be off, but they have to go back in, get the stem cells, and they can have as that kind of life instead of having me in a wheelchair. So I went in there because I just wanted to try it out. My friend also came with me. He has asthma, knocked out his asthma. He never had to use an inhaler for way past 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, because the stem cells also really affect the lungs. The umbilical cord cells, they travel to the lungs first.
So this is an IV version of it.
Yeah, an IV. We did IV. I did my shoulders, because I later got a rotator cuff surgery because I had a bone spur going into my tendon. But I tried to use the stem cells so I didn't have to go to the surgery. Mm-hmm. But you can't erode bone.
Right.
So
yeah. So you got it shaved down. Is that what they did?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And but I just my performance level went up. The general kind of markers of what it's supposed to do actually increased. Actually, right after that, I went back to Vegas, met up with Dan, and we did a workout, and it was it's just 2 times more, and it worked. It did what it was scientifically supposed to do for me, for my stamina, my energy.
Yeah.
And
you did it for 3 days. Did you do the 3 day?
Yeah,
treatment?
3 days.
And 3 days of IV, and then injects into different joints. And
exactly. And I did that, and then about a year later, I was with Dr. Grossman. He's the doctor I work with, and he wrote the book with Ray Kurzweil called. I think it's the subtext of the book is staying alive until we reach singularity or something like that. Mm-hmm. It's like a book on being healthy, basically, anti-aging book. So he wrote that in with Ray Kurzweil. So that's why I heard about him. I went to him a few years back to get the full blood work going for me and my family. We did 2 days of testing, all kinds of stuff to learn more about our bodies and see what we're deficient in, what we're not, what vitamins we need to take to supplement the things that we're deficient in. And then I came back just, maybe a year ago to do his version of stem cells, because in America it's a different kind of thing. Panama is obviously out of America, so they're doing the umbilical cord stem cells, where they harvest the stem cells from umbilical cords. So they have day 0 stem cells. He's doing stem cells. It's almost like a plasma therapy. When they took my blood, spin it, and they're pulling out the stem cells from my own blood. So it's 41-year-old stem cells. But his point that he's saying is that the size of the stem cells, they're much smaller, so they're able to travel past where it ends up clogging, which is the lungs and certain areas of the body. So it does travel more. It's not the day 0 stem cells, but it's still effectively doing its work.
When you think back to 20 years ago, there was no discussion of this. So this is this is a completely, I've had stem cell shots too, and I had a full-length rotator cuff tear in my right arm that's gone. Just, it went sealed up, healed. Yeah. I was having real problems with this arm where I was thinking I was going to need surgery. Now it works great. No problems at all. I hit the bag, lift weights.
And you injected intravenously and into the arm?
Yeah, I've done both. Yeah, exosomes. I've done, there's a new thing called Wharton's jelly that had a pretty profound effect. It's a very potent mixture of stem cells. We're getting close to the point where you don't have to go to Panama, but going to Panama right now is the way to go.
So that's where you went for?
No, I didn't go to Panama. I did it all in America.
Where?
Santa Monica. A place called Lifespan Medicine. Yeah.
I'll have to try that out.
It's a place that I originally started going to for Regenikine. Do you know what Regenikine is? Regenikine was originally invented in Germany. And a lot of guys like Peyton Manning and Kobe Bryant, they had to fly to Germany back in the day to get this. And what they do is it's a more advanced form of platelet-rich plasma, right? They're taking your blood out. They spin it in a centrifuge and heat it through some process, and they add things to it. And in the process, it creates this incredibly potent anti-inflammatory agent that's from your own blood. It's like this yellow serum. Then they inject this yellow serum directly into areas where you have injury and or inflammation. It has a radical healing effect. And it's really, really good for bulging discs. People that have disc issues and back issues, and I had a pretty bad one in my neck that was keeping me out of jiu-jitsu. My hands were going numb, because the bulge was pushing against my nerve. Now it's gone. I got MRI 6 months later after the procedure. There's no more bulge. Now, most of the time when you have a bulging disc, sometimes it can go back and heal, but most of the time it does not. And most of the time what happens is you wind up having to get a discectomy, where they go into the disc, they remove the offending piece that's sticking into your nerve. But now you have a smaller disc, you have less disc tissue. So your discs start to collapse, your actual spinal column, the actual hard bone moves closer to the other hard bone. And, it becomes a real problem. Arthritis forms, scar tissue forms. The more disc tissue you have, the better off you are. And they're able to do that now to the point where
to increase the disc tissue.
Well, it doesn't decrease it.
Okay.
So when the disc is bulging, it actually gets it to go back in. It gets it to retreat.
The stem cells or the blood plasma therapy?
Regenikine.
Okay.
But stem cells have been shown to start to do that too. They've actually started injecting stem cells directly into disc tissue. And I was talking to Dr. Roddy McGee out of Las Vegas. He's one of the guys that's really at the cutting edge of all this stuff, working with UFC fighters, and they're doing that with them. And he was the guy I originally went to treat my shoulder because of Dr. Davidson from the UFC, who's the main doctor for the UFC. He was telling me he had shoulder surgery. He's a little bit older than me, and his shoulder surgery took, but he was still having issues with it. He was trying to figure out what he should do because he was still having pain when he was swimming. Went and got some stem cell injections. All the pain went away. So he was telling me about that. He's like, you got some pretty significant tears. You might really need surgery, but maybe this will help you for now. So I went there, and the amount of help that the amount of alleviation of pain and discomfort was stunning. I was like, I can't believe this is a real thing. You can just shoot this into whatever's bothering you, and then all of a sudden, like 4 months later, you're like, hey, where's the pain? I don't have any fucking pain anymore.
I need to meet. Can you introduce me to McGee?
Sure. Oh, yeah,
Dr.
he's
McGee?
great. Yeah, I'll give you his number.
That'd be great.
I send people to him all the time. But he's on the cutting edge of everything. Like anytime he's a young guy and he's really enthusiastic and super brilliant, and anytime there's any sort of cutting edge medical practice, he's on it. Like, for instance, one of the things they're doing now is when people get ACL tears, which usually, when you get an ACL tear, usually you need reconstruction. And usually what that reconstruction is either a cadaver graft, where they take the Achilles tendon out of a dead person and shove it in your knee, and then your body reproliferates that with its own cells. It takes about 6 months, and then you have a functional tendon again. It's great. I had it done myself. It works. Wow. But now they're able to reattach the actual torn ACL. They have some special technique they do, and they've had people tear an ACL and then compete in the Olympics 4 months later.
Wow.
Which is fucking bananas.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and he showed me this procedure and how they do it, and then he showed me this guy 4 months post-op doing all these box jumps and shit, and I was like, this is nuts. It is nuts.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a lot of hope in terms of regenerative medicine.
Absolutely, yeah.
And thank God for people like Dr. Reardon and Dr. McGee and Dr. Ben Ruhi, who's the guy that I go to in Santa Monica. I mean, these guys are just on top of this incredible new wave of regenerative medicine.
Yeah, I'm obsessed with that world. So the more you talk about it, it's like it's very exciting.
Yes.
Yeah.
When you're in Vegas, you got to visit Roddy.
I would love to.
He's a great guy too.
Yeah,
you would love him.
Yeah,
and he's like super enthusiastic about it. If he finds out that you're enthusiastic about it, he'll geek out with you.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah. What else have you had done?
Stem cells, shoulder. I had I just had vocal cord surgery.
Whoa. Did you get polyps or something?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, polypoid on my vocal cord because I used to sing in a band. I used to be in a screamo hardcore band, or a few of them. I mean, that's my roots of where my music was, as far as what led me to DJing was being in these like hardcore punk bands.
So that's a lot of screaming.
Lots of screaming. Yeah. And then I carried that through when I finally retired that hat and I started DJing years and years later. And I started doing these bigger shows and I started doing the festivals. I brought out that same energy again. And I started, when I started producing the music, electronic music, I was bringing in guitars. I was screaming on some of these songs. So I'm bringing some of my past in with my music, and I'm back again, but in a different world. And I'm not a trained singer, so I destroyed my vocal cords, and I was just like raspy as hell. Like I was just like an old Italian man at some of my shows.
The Godfather.
Yeah. And then I saw a doctor, and he's like, you don't have a choice. You're gonna have to take a break. And I'm doing like 250 shows a year. So it's like, well, I gotta stop for the month and not talk for a month. That was crazy.
No talking for a whole month.
Yeah, imagine Joe Rogan not talking for a whole month.
Wow. I bet a lot of people would be excited.
But I had to do that. That was very hard. I actually saw a life coach before because I'm terrified. I don't want my demons or whatever, anxiety or whatever things that I have creeping up where they're like, okay, you're mine now. You can't talk to someone about,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm scared, but I got through it. I'm a very busybody kind of person. So I just scheduled, it was like going back to college, but with things that I needed to train and get better at, get better at piano, get better at meditation, get better at twisting the knobs, engineering, whatever it might be that I want to be better at. I just brought more people into my world. Then I finished an album that month, making music with different people. So I was so focused on creation and learning and reading and, all that good stuff. So when I left, I was like, okay, now I know how to do TM meditation or transcendental meditation, and I'm more comfortable doing the things that help me be a better artist.
Well, it obviously worked, right? But what was the first sound that you made after a month? What was the first word?
I'll tell you something that's really interesting. I know now to do the most hygienic sneeze that you can possibly do.
Tell us.
Because now I could sneeze with no visible vapor residue. Because when people sneeze, they see those videos. It's like this cloud of trillions of bacteria floating in the air.
Yeah.
Of course, if you do that to me, you'll probably see some vapor, but you don't feel it on your hand. If you sneeze and you're all gunky, and it happens sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Well, now I can sneeze because I'm not using my vocal cords. So as I sneeze, I blow out really hard because I had no choice. I couldn't cough. I couldn't actually use a vocal cord after the surgery.
So what if you had to cough?
So I'll be like,
whoa.
So when I sneeze like that. I go, so if you do that,
So
if you do
that's how
that
you do
kind
it
of
now?
sneeze, what's that?
That's how you do it right
That's
now?
how I sneeze.
I almost want to get some dust. See if you sneeze.
Yeah, if you could make me sneeze, I will show you. And then, yeah, basically.
So you just breathe out.
Yeah, it's the cleanest sneeze you could possibly do. Yeah. So that's one very important thing I learned through this whole. But the first sound, I don't remember.
Were you scared to say a word? Like when the 30 days was up.
Yeah. It's probably just, also whispering is really bad.
Whispering's bad, like that?
Yeah, like whispering like this.
Yeah.
So
Really?
Whispering is not good for your vocal cords. You think it's gentler on them, but from what I was told, to not whisper.
Don't whisper.
So I literally was texting all the time for, until I had to make that,
You probably developed some fucking lightning fast thumbs. Because you wanted to get things out. That's what you did most of the time? Just text people?
It's called text to talk when I was in my meetings because, I run various different businesses, and I have to, be on calls. So I'm texting and talking. I was
Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, yeah. But so if you go back to him,
Here is the agenda for today.
Yes.
They apparently wanted to give him a better voice, and he didn't want it.
Yeah, he's like, I like that.
Smoother, more Siri-like voice.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't understand that. Siri, you can get Siri in a nice English voice, lady voice. He was not interested. He likes that. He liked while he was alive that weird, rough computer voice.
From what I heard about him, his sense of humor was very funny, and he's just a very sarcastic guy.
He seemed like a really interesting guy.
Yeah.
Who also really likes strip clubs. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah, Eric Weinstein told me about that. Remember? See, but there was a really interesting article written about him that he would love to get wheeled into a strip club. He enjoyed it. He liked being there. But I guess that completely makes sense. If you lost control of your body, but you still were attracted to women, and you still found them amazing, you'd want to see them naked dancing in front of you. It's like,
it makes total sense.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Because you want, like, I mean, exactly. You can't get it, but you can at least be there.
Yeah. What do you got, Jamie? There it is. Acclaimed physicist Hawking, a regular at California strip joint. He's a regular.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
That's
Look at
pretty
him.
awesome.
Make it rain.
I am proud to say that I saw him speak when I was in college.
Oh, wow. No kidding.
Yeah.
Look at him with all the strippers. Hello. Stephen Hawking go to strip clubs. Look at him. That's amazing. Look at his smile. He looks so happy. He looks so happy. Who are we to hate?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I would imagine that would be a very trying 30 days. So when it was over, was your voice normal? Did it come back? It
was different, but I was warned that it would sound a little different.
Like, you sound different now than you sounded before the operation.
I'm used to what I sound like now, so I almost forgot what I sounded like before. But I think maybe a semitone differently, you know. But you know, it's like you just get used to the new you. Like, if I was going to be half cyborg, half man, I'd probably just be like, okay, this is me. You know, like, you just get to that when you've situated in that.
The half cyborg thing is going to be really weird when people start replacing legs. Because I think if you could develop a leg, like a cybernetic leg that's better than a normal leg, someone's going to say, chop my leg off and give me one of those. Someone somewhere is going to do that. And if that becomes seamless and, you know, you get some Steve Austin $6 Million Man type shit going on, things can get real weird.
That's what Yuval talks about in Homo Deus. You know, that whole idea that, like, first we use the technology to heal the people that need it, but at the end of the day, it's going to be used for advancing humanity. You know, like, there's, like, you know, you want to help people that need to walk first, right?
Yeah.
But then it's like, just like you said, if it becomes very normal, then the upgrades will be used as well to advance the people that don't need it.
Yeah. And then we get to a point where you're unscrewing your head, taking your brain out.
But that's also what's interesting is that when you say that, you know, now it sounds crazy.
It does, but it doesn't.
Yeah, well, to you it doesn't.
Yeah.
But to me it doesn't either. But that's exactly what you're saying about the phone to, you know, or like what you're showing someone in the Victorian age.
Yeah.
It's about the internet, right? And when we get to that place, it's going to, you know, it's going to feel like, oh, well, everyone did it. So,
like when Luke Skywalker got his arm chopped off in Star Wars, and they put another arm on, and it's really quick. Remember?
Yep.
Yeah, that shit's gonna happen.
I believe it.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far away. I think that's probably 25 years away.
I hope so.
I hope so too. Because we are seeing some pretty advanced artificial limbs. So there was a guy who got his leg and his arm bit off by a shark, and I met him at the Comedy Store. And he has this carbon fiber arm and a carbon fiber leg. The guy doesn't walk with a limp. He walks completely normal, and he shook my hand. I was scared because I was like, don't crush my hand, because he's got some fucking Iron Man hand, and he shook my hand.
Does it have like does it look like a hand, or is it just
like
a metal?
Fucking hand.
Wow.
Yeah, like a black carbon fiber hand that articulates. It moves.
Because I think they're starting to make it where you can feel.
Yes, I think they are.
Yeah, so that's
the guy right there.
Wow.
Yeah, we've actually.
I mean, that's the next level, right? It's like when you can make an arm that has nerve joints into this artificially connecting with your brain.
Yeah, he's an interesting character because that arm. I mean, it's you really get this I Am Robot kind of feel.
Yeah.
From seeing his arm and his leg, like, because it's. I mean, I'm sure he would tell you that he's much better off with his arm and his leg back.
Yeah.
But when you see the guy walk around, man, he fucking just walks around. It looks normal. I mean, what they used to have in comparison to what they have today, I mean, it is leaps and bounds. And I'm sure the future, so that's his actual arm.
Wow.
That's what it looks like.
Wow.
Shark bit his fucking arm off.
I mean, I wouldn't want to put the arm and leg.
Yeah.
That was a hungry shark.
This asshole. Yeah. It's, it's interesting because we're in this new frontier of what's possible. I'm sure they're upgrading his stuff all the time as well, and what's available to someone like him.
Yeah. But it's exciting to see, like, when you like, when you see it firsthand, and you see him not lipping, and where we're going, like I'm saying, like all the sci-fi films that we see, that some of them are going to have very real, scenarios in our life.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you a technology geek outside of the sort of thinking about the body?
As in, I mean, I am, of course. I would definitely say I'm a tech geek.
Yeah, because you kind of have to, right? If you create electronic music.
Yes. I'm a gadget guy too. I love like gadgets and trying new little things that are out there. Like I just want to try it all. I want to like experience things in different ways to enhance my experience overall.
Yeah, creating music electronically it's kind of polarizing to some people though, right? Because I mean, I think your music sounds fucking amazing, but for some people they want to hear an actual string of a guitar, the rap of a drum, like people have this like very narrow idea of what music is.
It's true. And I think that there's two layers to like electronic music. You have to first of all make the music. So you are making the music in one form or another with, I don't use like live instrumentation so much, but sometimes I do. And because I come from that world, it's natural for me to bring a guitar in, but it's not necessary. Everything can be made from a laptop. You don't even actually need very much anymore. Wow. You can make like an entire song. Yeah, GarageBand, I guess, would be the rudimentary first option.
Do you use Windows? Do you use a Mac?
I use a Apple Ableton Live. And
Ableton Live is the software? Yeah,
it's like the DAW that I use to create the music. But, you can literally, you don't even need a keyboard. You don't even need a mouse.
Wow.
You just need a hard drive of samples or, having enough that you can build off of. And your keyboard becomes, how you're going to paint your notes in. So you can make it that streamlined if you wanted to. Now, having like this big studios is great. And I have a really beautiful studio in my house. But it's more about the energy of the room for me. Like I want to go in there like I'm going to work 12 hours and I'm going to be excited to do that all the way until whatever time. It's that Las Vegas effect of being in a club or being in a casino and you don't know what time it is. I want that same effect in my room to be like energized and also energize people that come in. But if I'm on the road, like, making an idea and just like strip lining it, I don't really need much, and I think that's
Is
like
that your setup right there?
Oh yeah.
Dude, what a fucking badass room.
So
incredible. I love your carpet.
Yeah,
what's going on with that?
It's blue. Obviously, my book's called Blue. Is my favorite color, and I want the feeling to feel futuristic. So it's the neon future cave. Now, if you look up at the ceiling, if you scroll up in that picture or whatever, you'll get to see, maybe it's not in that picture, but I have, so you have like these like LED lights coming through the ceiling as if you're in like a cave.
Whoa.
And
then you're looking at everything in this enormous projection screen. Is that what that is?
Yeah, and it seats a ton of people. So, I'm releasing my next singles with the Backstreet Boys. So I can fit all the Backstreet Boys guys in my house, in my studio, and we could, do what we do.
Have you always lived in Vegas?
I moved to Vegas I bought my house in 2013.
What made you move to Vegas?
I was living in LA, and my career broke in Los Angeles. So there's no doubt about it. Being in LA as a musician, as an artist, someone in music, that's where if you want to break, you're going to have all the connections and build your network here fastest than anywhere else in the world. New York, I feel like, is the media hub or fashion, and then LA is a music hub, and then Atlanta is like the hip hop hub. Nashville's country. But I broke in LA, and when I started touring, 2008, 9, 10, 11, I was just gone. I wasn't like living in LA the way I lived in LA, going out to all the places that I love to eat, all the culture of what LA has to offer. I was only there 50 days of the year, maybe. So I was like, well, just signed a residency in Las Vegas when the nightlife boomed for DJs from 2010. It was a big shift of what nightlife has to offer in Vegas, and DJs were a big part of that. And I signed a big residency deal. And then I was like, I'm here more than I am in LA. And, it's a good tax situation there. There's no state tax there. And I'd have to leave LA, my home turf, but I'm not even there.
Right.
So I just moved ship entirely, bought a house, bought the dream situation house. That's another there's so many perks for me because LA, I had like a 2,000, 2,500 square foot, maybe 3,000 square foot house, which was nice, $1 million house in the hills. And that's when I finally made it. Before I lived in an apartment on DeLong Pre El Centro, East Hollywood, I guess Hollywood and Vine area, $900 for 900 square feet. That's where it all started for me. That's when I first moved to LA. And I started making money. It took time to get there. I kind of talk about that in the book, like the hardships to get there, because one of the best lessons that my father shared with me was this tough love attitude where, he was a very rich, flamboyant restaurateur, Benihana's, had fancy cars, was very flashy, very American. He's the one that broke through the American dream, the Japanese, one of the few Japanese people that actually did that. So he's just like, yo, look at me with, flying hot air balloons, offshore boat racing. And then I guess the traditional thing is like that he would financially help me, because he has the money to do that. But one of the most powerful things he did was he didn't financially help me. And I had to figure out my issues, my hardships, my business plans, my financial issues that I was going through on my own. So I had to start there. And because of that, I was able to succeed through some of the hard stuff and have that drive to want to make money for myself. So during that time in LA, I'm kind of digressing here. I lived in this apartment for about 7 years. And then the DJing, my first priority was my record label. That was like why I moved to LA. Sign artists, develop them, help them. And then I was DJing, building the brand of the label, and we created a really cool scene in LA. And we were breaking some of the biggest acts. Not breaking, we were the underground hotbed, like I say like the Comedy Shop or something where like everyone would hang out. So like Lady Gaga was playing for free at our shows. Skrillex was there every single week. will.i.am was dancing in the corner and then going back to the studio making Black Eyed Peas hits, because 2007 through 2009, Black Eyed Peas were the biggest artists. LMFAO was there every single week. And then they became the biggest acts. So we're like this hotbed of music culture in LA, but it was my parties.
Wow.
And then that's how I, made a name for myself, is that I was throwing these parties and I was DJing them, but no one cared that I was DJing them. The only reason why they were going is because these acts would always be there. And then the celebs would come in, and that's when I met DJ AM in 2006, 2005. And then we got together and he brought the celebs in. So now like there's a spotlight of pre-TMZ kind of like, oh, what's going on over here with this electro sound you have like Daft Punk, they're unmasked and like really cool underground, like Kid Cudi there and Kanye West coming through. And then there's Lindsay Lohan and Paris Hilton and all these different people all like in this small room. And people wanted to know what the hell was going on in that little space. And this is what's great about this time was that it was pre-Snapchat, pre-social media. It was just MySpace. So you had to be in that room to experience what was happening. So people would fly in to just be in that room to hear what was the cutting edge sound that was going to be eventually popular. You know, people wanted to play in that little 300, 400 cap room.
Did you film any of that?
There was always one guy filming. I mean, that's the thing, because back then there was no phones that could film. It was like razors and,
Right.
you know, like Blackberries that, you know, you just can't.
Sidekicks.
Yeah. It's like, it's the worst quality. So
Yeah.
a guy would have to bring a camcorder in, right? And this one guy, Glenn Jamin, he would always film those parties. We had Cobra Snake. He was my best friend. He would just run with me to all the shows and parties. Because back then I would play like 5 nights a week in LA. And he would photograph and he would document, and that's how you would find out about the lifestyle, the clothes, like the look of, you know, what it was to be on Cahuenga in Hollywood, and that whole, you know, and then you see Kid Cudi there, and you see Kanye West there, and you'll see, you know, whoever else that was just like hanging out, absorbing the culture that we were like creating there, and then eventually that was what got me out of my debt bubble. That was, you know, because I was a pretty bad businessman when I was running Dimmock. I thought I was doing shit right because I was signing acts that actually mattered and were taking off, but I just didn't know how to, you know, I was just spending like, yo, we gotta keep going with this. And then, you know, then I started bringing the right people, and I was like, okay, I need to build a team. I need to build some people that have some sensibilities in this world while I'm creative. And then the DJing just took off as I was getting more into production, getting more into remixing, getting more into creating myself as an artist. And then that is what people know about me now. But really, it was people knew about me because of the Dimmock. And it's interesting how sometimes the evolutions of the eras of who you are, you know, change over time. And then, you know, fast forward 2013 is when I was like, okay, LA helped grow me to who I am. My management, my label, they're still LA, you know. But Steve Aoki is going to be Las Vegas. So
I would love to see a documentary on that. That would be an amazing film, like to see how that all was going down.
Right.
You know, like if you have video footage, if you get somebody to edit that and put together a documentary of that time period, because it's a really interesting time period.
Yeah.
You know, for the creation of electronic music. And what you pointed out that's so interesting was that 2010 was really somewhere around the time Vegas started becoming these electronic music shows started taking precedent. They're the biggest fucking thing. I was staying at the Wynn recently, and the hotel room we were at was overlooking the pool, and I forget who it was that was playing there. But it was fucking chaos.
Yeah.
And like you don't, and especially when you're, you know, we're like above, like high above, looking down on the pool out of the hotel room.
Bird's eye view.
It was so crazy. It was so loud and so crazy. And there was everybody's in the pool. It was fucking madness. And you're going, this never existed.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been coming to Vegas for a long time. This is a new thing.
It is.
It's a new thing over the last 9 years.
Exactly.
And it's overtaken Vegas. Everywhere you go, there's these gigantic billboards with either your face on it or whatever other DJs in this place. And who's the guy with the fucking marshmallow head? Is the guy at Marshmallow?
Yeah, well, that's Marshmallow.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, that's like the unknown comic. He's got a marshmallow on his head. But there's so many. I didn't even know who that was. Like, my kids were explaining to me. My 11-year-old was explaining to me Marshmallow. I'm like, how the fuck do you know who Marshmallow is? It doesn't, and we're there, and it's everyone that's going out in Vegas. I mean, Vegas used to be like a cultural weird void.
Yeah.
Right? You would have some big acts that would come through there, but it always seemed like they were at the end of their run.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You had to be at the end of your run.
Yeah.
Like when Michael Jackson was considering doing Vegas, it's like, okay, he's like finally saying that this is the end of my run, or, you know, it's
or
like
even
the
someone who's
legacy.
really talented, like Celine Dion. You know, she did a residency in Vegas. You're like, she's probably just tired.
Donnie Marie.
Yes.
You know,
perfect.
Manilow.
Yes,
Or Barry Manilow. You know, like
Carrot Top does a residency there. He's doing really well. It's not a knock.
Yeah, no, it's not. It's really not.
But that's what it was. But then all of a sudden it became electronic music. And it's like, wow, what is happening? like these things are enormous. Like they're so much bigger than any other kind of event that you have in Vegas, other than like massive sporting events like a UFC or something like that.
Well, it definitely it's provoked by energy too, like, and that's infectious.
Yes.
You
Well,
know?
it's a fucking great time.
Yeah.
Like if you go to see Barry Manilow or whoever, no knock on them, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm sure it's fun, it's mellow, it's like whatever you're into. But when
you're seated, like you're seated for a reason, because you're there to like sit and just enjoy.
Yes.
There's no seats at a Steve Aoki show. I mean, there's like the tables and stuff, but no one's sitting down.
Right.
That'll be strange to see someone, unless they're just passed out drunk or something. But for the most part, everyone's standing and jumping and being part of the moment, and that's my job.
Yeah.
I need to make sure everyone's attention is on me, and that I'm taking them to this next level.
I've always wondered what it's like to live in Vegas, though. Like, I've never lived there. My good friend Dana White lives there. He loves it there. He raves about it. But I've always like Vegas.
Okay, so because
Vegas.
For me, so I'm LA guy, right? Like my heart and like, I love Los Angeles. I know LA so well, and with LA you have your limitations. It's Los Angeles. You can't, like, if you want to build your dream house, you're gonna have to have a lot of money to do that. In Vegas, when I moved there in 2013, I got a sick deal. I bought my house, 16,000 square feet.
Whoa.
2.8 million, I think.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, 2.8. It was a short sale. It was a total steal. I mean, like, the guts were not good. Like, it was like one of those like prop homes almost. So I had to re-gut, and like I spent like $5 million into the house. And it was more about building my own dream house as I would want to have it. I have a foam pit in there with a trampoline room. The pool in my backyard was too far away from my house, so I filled it in, and I built a pool that's 16 feet deep right next to my patio. That's 20 feet up. I built the patio out so that way I can jump into the pool from the top. And I'm like a kid. I'm basically a big kid. And I just think about how I want to make my house fun, interactive for the artists that come there. For me, I have a fun gym. I got my own like chess station, backgammon station. I have a poker room. It's the most hospitable house, and I have all this space. I have like a big shoe room. I'm a big shoe collector. I got a crazy library with books and records, and I have a Bruce Lee mirror room.
A mirror room?
It's my closet, but it's just like you walk in and it's like LED strips everywhere with mirrors, and I'm just having fun. I'm having fun with my house. There's the mirror room. I have some really crazy, really beautiful art. I got this amazing Banksy piece. And so I've been starting to collect art. There's my shoe room in the
Doesn't
corner.
Banksy get mad if people buy his shit?
I bought it from him.
Oh, you met him? Tell us what he looks like.
He's a girl.
Ooh.
Just kidding. I never met him, but I got into through some people to get into.
Is he definitely a real person?
I don't know.
How weird is that?
Yeah.
That someone in 2019 has managed to stay that secretive.
Yeah.
Really kind of amazing.
It's incredible.
Because he's a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows who Banksy is.
Yeah.
Right? Or of
Yeah.
Banksy, I should say. But no one knows who he is, which is crazy. Who the fuck has ever pulled that off? Right? I mean, what a unique human being.
Yeah. It's true.
How does that work? How can someone
not
still
sure.
do that?
I think you have to, it's like he's always seeming to find a way to troll people in a social or political critique. Just like he did with the art sale of the shredded painting.
Yes, how amazing was that?
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, but
to watch those people after they paid it and see the thing drop down
but
and shred the artwork.
But let me ask you this though. I don't want to go too deep into this, but because I don't know if I'm like stepping on anyone's toes here, but if this is really suffrages or what, like a real auction house, aren't they going to look at the painting or the piece? Or are they going to open up the frame and make sure there's not some weird drill going through? Like
I don't think they would ever expect that to be the case.
I mean, but you're antique. You should be checking everything, making sure everything's authentic. No.
Well, if it's an authentic piece and it somehow or another some reliable source brings it to them as an authentic piece, they just accept the fact.
They don't check the details of the piece?
I mean, what can they do? Meanwhile, by the way, I'll take that and fucking glue that bitch back together again.
Leave it that way.
No,
It's
you
cool.
want to
Yeah.
like that. That's the whole
Right,
point.
that's
Right?
true.
That's like what makes the value is that
Right,
he
like
did.
actually have it hanging there. That's why you want it in your house, really. You want it just like that. Yeah, look at the people's face.
Sometimes I forget that
look at
I'm.
the guy on the phone. Oh no, Thurston, we've lost the piece. Woohoo!
Yeah, you know, I wish, like, it's funny that we're talking about this because sometimes I forget, like, you know, we're having a chat and I realize, oh, there's a lot of people listening in on this, so maybe I shouldn't give away some of the stuff that I've learned about it. But yeah, but anyways, we'll leave it there.
Well, he's definitely a unique human.
Yeah.
So let's get back to Vegas. So you don't feel weird living there? Because the one thing that I've felt about Vegas is I always enjoy going there and enjoy leaving more. I'm like, get me home. Let me get out
Well,
of
that's
this place.
because you go there with that intention. Like for me, I built my compound.
Right. So it is home.
It's 100% home. It's exciting to be home. And the best part about it is, like, first I built the compound, this dream house, to invite like all my friends. I'm a hospitable guy. So I want artists to come there, my friends to come there, stay there with me, my family. And the next best thing was calling my mom and my sister who lived together. And I said, will you move to Vegas? Will you be in my neighborhood? And they said yes, and that was the best money I ever spent, was buying my mom a house. And they, you know, like, they live around the corner. My mom's cooking, like, by the time I'm home. I see my mom all the time, and I never had the opportunity. We had this 10-plus year gap where I see her like once every 6 months because I'm just touring like a beast.
Right.
Now I just see my family a lot more, you know, like, so in a way I'm trying to bring my family all to Vegas. My cousins moved from the East Coast with his wife and his mom to Vegas, you know, before even my mom. So I have my cousin there, I have my mom, my sister there with their daughter, my brother Kevin, who's a restaurateur as well. He's planning to make the move because we're going to open up some restaurants on the Strip.
Damn, dude, you got your fingers in a lot of pies.
And on that pie note, I do have Pizza Aoki.
No.
Yes, I do. I have 19 kitchens now.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's been about a year and 2 months, and we're growing at a rapid rate. And
I would imagine 19 in a year.
19 kitchens in a year.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Most of them are in Los Angeles because that's, you know, like, that's where we kind of broke ground, and we were just like opening up kitchens in all the areas that Postmates was giving us information like, yo, this is where it makes sense to do that. So we work with all the delivery hubs. And
is it mostly a delivery thing, or do you have...
Yeah, I do have 2 dine-in locations, but the whole business model is about delivery.
Really?
Yeah. It's all about delivery, and that way my costs are very low. And then I could be effective. Like, I'm not really spending much money on marketing. And what's funny is that people love to post about pizza. And
Right.
Pizza Aoki is a pretty fun concept.
Dude, Fight Companion, Pizza Aoki, Saturday. Let's make it
I had
happen.
some 2 weeks
I
ago.
will
It's very
send
good.
as many Pizza Aokis as you guys need, like whenever
We're
you
doing
want.
a live Fight Companion for the UFC this Saturday. It'll be like 11 a.m. in the morning because it's in Abu Dhabi. So we'll hit it up. We'll make that happen.
Yeah.
All right. What kind of pizza you got, man?
Oh, we got all kinds of pizzas.
Yeah.
You know?
All right.
But most importantly, you know, the idea of Pizza Aoki might sound like a gimmick, and you're like, okay, I'll try it out. But 60% of the people ordering Pizza Aoki are return. So we know that it's quality, you know. It's
I wouldn't
good pizza.
imagine that you're doing anything half-assed.
No.
I don't think that's you. So so you've essentially like created your own world in Vegas. So everyone's there that you know, and you can just take. So the thing about Vegas, right, is like the allure of the Strip. But you're kind of removed from that anyway. You don't do drugs. You don't drink, right? You don't fuck around with anything.
No, yeah, that's like one of the things that we talked, like, you know, when we talked about how I'm sustainable, is that you have to not do the certain things that make it unsustainable.
Right.
So I never really got into drugs. I do talk about my book, my first acid trip when I was 13, but that scared the living shit out of me to stay away from anything hallucinogenic. And like literally at 13, so I just stay away from drugs.
That's a bad time to do acid. It seems like a bad idea.
It's a very, very funny story, but
Sure.
it got to the point where I just became this this straight edge hardcore kid. I became extremely religious because I was in this like, I was 13. I was looking up going, I'm going to be fucked for the rest of my life. Like when you're on acid, you're like fucking out there. You're just so fucked up. And when you start thinking like, this is how I'm going to be forever, you're clinging on to anything that can get you out, right? And for me, when I grew up as a kid, my mom was putting me into like Catholic schools. And one of the best things that Catholic schools do is indoctrinate kids on fear. And so we, I remember going up to the drawing board, like there was like a drawing of what hell is. Like, guess who's going there forever? People that don't believe, And, when you're young, you start seeing that. And then when you get into a place of vulnerability where you're like where I was like scared shitless. I was like, I'm going to go to an insane award when I'm 13 because I can't get out of this acid hell trip.
How long did it last?
I guess 7, 8 hours, but every second is like a minute, because you cannot sleep. You cannot stop thinking about what you're in. I mean, there is it's like this exaggerated emotions. Like the first part of my acid trip was I was so funny. I was laughing at everything. It was like the best thing I ever did. I was like, oh my God, everything is so funny. I'm just laughing. I'm like in pain because I'm like so just laughing at everything. Just everything's joyous. And then I went into this upside down world, like Stranger Things, when I got dropped off at my friend's house and everyone went dark. And my friend's 14. He doesn't do drugs. So he was just, and his mom was coming down. You okay? Everything's okay.
Did they know you were on acid?
No, they knew I was on acid, but they were like, you're like, I'm like an 80-pound Japanese kid, 5 foot, like a little kid. Like, what the hell am I doing acid for, I do talk about where that came out, but yeah, so when I got flipped into that world, then everything was like, I saw Street Fighter fireballs from Ryu coming at me when I closed my eyes. It was very, very vibrant and vivid, and I mean it's a trip for sure.
So once you regained sanity, you were like, enough of any of this nonsense.
Yeah. Once I was like, oh my God, I'm back. This is for real. Like I have fuck drugs, fuck this shit. And then I was like, I'm straight edge because that's the music I was starting to get into. And then I was like, I'm all about God and Jesus. It's going to save me, he saved me. So as a kid, I was very religious going out and I, started exploring more about the world and then went more from this faith-based concepts of living through life to, things that needed to make sense for me. I'm very much more scientific on the understanding of how I want to see things.
Where did the change take place? When did it take place?
That would happen to be college and post.
Where'd you go to school?
UC Santa Barbara.
So when you went, it was great. Yeah, I love Santa Barbara. God, it's like the hidden gem of California, right?
Yeah.
It's so sweet out there.
Yeah.
So you just became educated, started learning more about things, and then
I don't know if there was one spark that happened. It was just kind of I just had questions about why things happen, what is religion, what how things work in the world, how societies are built.
Did you study theology?
A little, but I don't know if that would be the philosophy classes I was taking was not really the crux of it. Sociology was my major. I was women's studies and sociology when I was in college.
Women's studies?
Yeah, women's studies.
Them out?
Yeah. I mean,
get to the bottom of this.
I'd have to say, strangely enough, that's the first thing you think about, right? Why is a guy in women's studies trying to understand?
They're angry.
I mean, the reason why I was in that department is because my favorite teachers were the ones teaching those classes. So I just was like, all right, I'll try this one. And then I was like, wow, this is actually pretty interesting. I'll try another one. And then I was like, well, I'll finish off the major. And I'd have to say the stuff that I learned in school, it's in large part of how I kind of look through, kind of navigate through my life. Sociology, I am a sociologist. I want to study people, why they do certain things. How do I navigate them in different directions?
Well,
you know?
and then you've become a purveyor of great fun. Like, that's essentially what you do professionally, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you give people a great time. Like,
Yeah.
your shows are this wild, extremely energetic experience for people. And they leave, there's a certain level of transformance.
Right.
You know, I've watched some of your shit online, and you do these enormous crowds, man, and it's so epic. And you see all those people going fucking crazy and dancing along to your shit. I mean, it's got to be a wild, wild feeling knowing that you're giving this really positive experience, these
Right.
thousands and thousands of people that are just roaring along to your music.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah, no, as you say, I'm like, getting all
Yes.
like,
Goosebumpy.
yeah, no,
Yes.
because
It's
it's
amazing.
exactly what you're saying, and that's why I guess you could say I'm addicted to that, and because I care so much about that, I have to be sustainable. You know, it goes back to what we're talking about, like, what do I
All the
need to do?
shows you do too. There's no fucking way you could do 250 shows a year and get fucked up 250 days.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's a lot, in that business especially, the business of electronic dance music, there's a lot of people doing Molly, right? There's a lot
Yeah.
of people doing all kinds of amphetamines and all kinds of crazy shit. And you got to think, like, you do that every night, man, you're going to look like an 80-year-old man by the time you're 40 years old, because you've literally burned the candle with a blowtorch. You've used that Elon Musk, not a flamethrower, on your fucking birthday candle. I mean, it's...
But you know what I always say, whenever I have the opportunity, is that for the people in my crowds, and I have to say country by country, they're very different as far as like what I think if they're doing drugs or not.
Where do they do the most drugs? Holland?
No, I don't think so. I don't, but it's hard. Like, it's like I'm just judging, right? I don't know like what people are doing out there. I could judge by how interactive they are. That's the best way I can tell.
Right, if they're like...
Yeah, if they're that's the worst. That's the worst like subject to play to. It's like literally playing at a cocktail party when their backs are turned to you. It's the same
Right.
kind of thing for me. So if they're already high and they just like lost in their world, like it's no fun for me. Plus, I spend so much time making like my sets so interactive, so engaging, and entertaining. Like, it's a bit disrespectful.
I get it. Yeah, I get it.
But like, some people are going to do it. You're not going to be like the Debbie Downer and be like, yeah, everyone on drugs, get the hell out of here.
You lose 80% of your crowd. What if you said that? Everyone on drugs, get the fuck out of here. If they listen to you, what percentage do you think in Vegas would leave?
Oh, I don't know. I don't even want to. I don't even want to know.
bro.
I don't even want to know. Honestly,
At least weed.
Yeah. Weed's different though.
Yeah.
Weed's more like chill. But if you're so like high, zoinked off your head where you don't even know where you are or what's
Right.
going on, then like you just lose the whole experience. I mean, a lot of times people wake up going, "Oh, what happened?"
Yeah.
Well, I mean, what's the point of the experience if you're so blitzed out of your head you don't even know what's going on? So
Allegedly, during the experience, they're having a good time. Maybe.
yeah,
Yeah, but I mean, it's a really wonderful way to make a living.
it's like literally the dream come true. To make people happy, get to be. I always say like I feel like I'm the chef in the kitchen making the food, and I go out and I get to watch people eat my food.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Oh, this is really good." I'm like, yes. Like since I see that feeling, I'm like, let's go back and make more food, but we got to sprinkle more truffle on that, and then let's deliver, and then get a C. And then they're like, "You're the chef." I'm like, "That's me." So like it's like I get that lucky position to be able to make my music and then share it and hope that they have the same feeling that I have sharing it.
So how many shows do you do in Vegas, and how many shows do you do abroad?
Around 40 in Vegas, so 210.
40 a year.
40 a year.
So when are you there? Like, do you still have residency? Or
I do.
You just where?
At Hakkasan, Omnia, Jewel, smaller club of theirs, and Wet Republic. So there's 4 properties that I play, which is nice because if I had to play 40 shows in one, I mean, it wouldn't necessarily be that bad because the thing about Vegas is it's a transient crowd, right? So it's always, no matter what, even on one weekend, I might be playing possibly 3 or 4 times for one weekend.
Right.
And every show I do, whether it's a day party and a club, the club is a complete different influx of people coming in. Because the people that saw me at the day party are going to go see Chainsmokers or Marshmello or, whoever else, or Calvin Harris or whatever is playing out on the Strip. The competition is as thick as it gets. Yeah. Every night, there's the biggest DJs playing alongside, each other.
It's really amazing if you stop and think about what a crazy change that is to an entertainment environment. Like the transformation to that electronic music around, like you said, 2010, there's not a thing like that you can point to anywhere else in the world where, like, all of a sudden this one dominant form of entertainment has taken over the entire nightlife of a city.
Right.
Like, other than some sort of big event that's in Vegas, the fucking rodeo or the UFC or something like that, where everybody comes in to see that.
Right.
You guys are what's up. I mean, that is what's up in Vegas. It's it dominates it. How did that happen? That's a crazy thing.
It really is. When you say it like that, I'm like,
no other place. Like, if you go to New York, if you go to LA, if you go to all places all around the world, there's no other thing that has transformed the nightlife of a city the way electronic music has transformed Vegas. Transformed. Changed everything. Went from non-existent to number one with a bullet. Like, there's not even a close second. It's all electronic music. Anthony Bourdain used to hate it. It was hilarious. He used to, he was like, he was old and crotchety, being at these places and all the music, and it wasn't his thing. But he still was in awe of how it happened. I love that guy too.
Yeah, I never met him, but
he was awesome.
Yeah,
I miss him.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that do go to Vegas who are like, oh, this is so annoying. just kids running around, not kids, but like young adults running around. Yeah. Especially in the day, like in their bikinis running. I mean, I guess probably people would like that. But in any case, it's it's also different for the casino operators because they're dealing with this younger generation of people too.
Right.
And they have to think differently about how they're going to get them to, do what Vegas is meant to be, what the economy is serving, gambling.
Yeah. Well, they're paying to see you as well, and alcohol sales as well.
Yeah.
I think alcohol sales have become a large portion of their revenue, right?
I think that, like, I could be wrong here, but the gambling side is actually a smaller portion than the everything else.
I think that's true. I think that's shifted. I've read something about that recently, that entertainment has become the primary revenue source in Vegas, whereas it used to be gambling.
Right.
But it's, there's still gambling, but boy, it's hard to just convince young people to start gambling.
Yeah.
It's easy to convince them to start dancing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's like, it seems normal. It's natural. Yeah. There's the beat.
Also, when you're young,
you
don't have the money to just risk, but you have the money to go and like experience fun.
Yes. Yeah.
When you're older, you're like, okay, I have some of like flexible income streams I can put down on some blackjack or whatnot.
I would have loved to seen the Sinatra days, like Vegas when it was run by the mob. I would have loved to have seen what that was like. The Rat Pack and Sammy Davis Jr. I just would love to have been in the room and watch one of those shows. And then, come to today and see how things have changed. I mean, I think that's like the Bourdain thing. Like, he had been there when he was young and then see it change now.
Right.
But I am fascinated by change. I don't resist it. And I don't say, oh, the good old days. That don't mean shit to me.
I am absolutely on the same page as you.
Yeah. I'm interested.
I'm always interested in the next thing. I want to try the next thing.
Yeah.
And you want to enhance your experience. You want to enhance what you're doing to make it serve you better.
But if you went to someone in like 1985 and said, hey man, guess what? 2019 electronic music is going to be the shit. It's going to be everywhere. People would go, what are you talking about? Get this guy out of here, man.
There's one guy that did say that though.
Who?
Jim Morrison.
Did he really?
Yeah. So like he did a prediction. It's like somewhere, I'm sure you can find it, but he did a prediction where whenever he was alive, I guess probably died in the 60s or 70s. So he said like the future will be one person with some sort of computer or something that's going to be devised electronically or something like that, and that one person will be making music for people and performing that. Really? Now, watch a video.
I remember this. I remember this now.
Yeah, so
What do you got, Jimmy?
I forgot what he said, but he said something to that effect, and it's like it's crazy because that was 50 years
Here,
ago.
play this.
70
Go, take it from the beginning.
The music indigenous to this country are the black music, blues, and the kind of folk music that was brought over from Europe, and I guess they call it country music, or the kind of West Virginia high and lonesome sound. Those are the two main streams of root American music. There might be others, I don't know. But like 10 years ago, what they called rock and roll was kind of a blending of those two forms. I guess in 4 or 5 years, the new generation's music will be, it'll have a synthesis of those two elements and some third thing that'll be entire. Maybe it'll be, it might rely heavily on electronics, tapes. I can kind of envision maybe one person with a lot of machines, tapes, and electronic setups, singing or speaking and using machines.
Yeah,
See,
from what his mindset is of what he considers what that would be, it's he did predict.
Yeah, I mean, nailed
where
it.
it is, like
I think that's what happens when you do acid correctly. You get those sort of visions.
yeah, because I mean, also Jim Morrison, like you could tell he's such an artist that he could, after the Doors, he'd just be himself.
Yeah.
He would have done a Jim Morrison album where he's made all the music, he's done everything. He would be exactly what he's saying. He's basically predicting what he would have, in my opinion, what he would become.
And he was probably like 25 in that video, which is even crazier.
Yeah,
I mean, he died at 27.
that's crazy.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts. I mean, that whole era of the 1960s fascinates me to no end. I love the cars. I love the sound. To this day, most of the music I listen to is classic rock. I mean, I listen to a lot of new stuff, but man, I will pull out some fucking classic rock. I love it. I love listening to it.
Yeah.
There's something about it that makes me, it just makes me realize what a profound change it was between the 1950s and the 1960s, that the culture exploded, that something happened and the clothes and the music and the sounds and the fucking muscle cars, like everything went haywire. Like you went from 1950 to 1960 and just a radical shift.
Right.
There's so many great artists, Hendrix and
Like
Janis
the whole
Joplin
idea of like okay, now it's time to experiment and to free ourselves from the confines of what it's supposed to. Yes, yeah.
Right.
The door's wide open.
I think Buddy Holly was great. I love Buddy Holly. But if you go from Buddy Holly to Hendrix, you're like, what happened? What happened?
That's what acid trip actually goes right, like you're saying.
Well, he apparently, they said he used to put acid in his bandana. I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But that it would seep into his skin as he was playing.
And then he's just lighting his guitar on fire and picking with his teeth.
Man, how much would you have loved to watch that guy live?
Oh, yeah.
That would have been incredible to be in the presence of something completely unique. This hippie black dude who's the greatest guitarist of all time. Still.
Yeah.
Like there's no one. Like there's some amazing guys today. Gary Clark Jr. and of course, Stevie Ray Vaughan was amazing. There's a bunch of great, amazing guitarists. It's not,
but also
not
the
knocking
showmanship,
them.
though.
Yeah.
The outfits, it's like all of it combined, not just his technical ability.
Yes.
The fact that he was doing these things that you're like, some of these guitarists wouldn't do that. That's not part of their protocol. But he was just like on another world.
Yeah.
And to be a part of that, to see that is incredible.
A complete outlier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
And again, no one was like that before that. Like, go to the 1940s. It's only 20 years.
Yeah.
1940s are only, 20 years ago is, we're dealing with, 1999. That doesn't seem that long ago.
Yeah.
But 69 to 49, you might as well be from another world.
Yeah.
You really might as well be. Might as well be another planet.
So what do you think was one of the bigger cultural shifts of why that happened?
Drugs!
simply.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when we talk about Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles and
Drugs.
the Beach Boys, like whoever else was
Morrison,
like,
drugs.
yeah, the Doors,
Janis Joplin, drugs.
Yeah.
Drugs. The Doors, drugs.
Right.
Everyone, drugs. They were taking mind-expanding psychedelics, and the culture had shifted to embrace these mind-expanding psychedelics. And there was also the resistance to the Vietnam War. There was this rebellious movement. There was these young, compassionate people that were trying to figure their way through life in a way that didn't resonate with the way their parents had set boundaries and standards, and they wanted out of all of it. That Goldwater Republican shit. They wanted to be free, and flower children and hippies and Woodstock and all that craziness. You know?
Yeah.
And what's amazing is how quickly it ended. You know? I mean, so many things came along.
Right.
So many things came along.
The deaths.
Yeah.
The deaths scared people. You know, like,
for sure.
you know, at the end of the day, like when they're dropping at 27, your heroes.
Morrison, Janis Joplin, Hendrix, all 27.
And like they're the leaders of this experimental revolution.
Yep. Not good.
That's going to end things pretty quick.
I think there was that. There was also the sweeping psychedelic act of 1970 that made everything Schedule 1, and they were locking people up in jail. They were also passing laws directly. There was a civil rights movement was happening at the same time, and they were passing laws that were directly targeting the people in the civil rights movement because they knew that they were smoking grass and they were doing mushrooms.
Right.
So they were going after them with these drug laws, and then, you know, they would arrest one person, they would turn on everybody else, and then, you know, they would do like mob tactics on people. And, you know, the whole thing, they just poured water on it. It took like 10 or 20 years before shit started popping again.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of like the influence of psychedelic culture again. Really more like 30 years. You know, it's like the 2000s where things started happening again, where people started becoming more and more aware of the positive benefits of psychedelic drugs and altered states of consciousness, not trying to escape reality, but trying to get a grip on reality from a different perspective. You know, but I think
that's an interesting, like when I think about psychedelics in that regard of mind expansion, or, you know, but at the same time, it's like this uncontrolled situation that, like, okay, we're going to jump in this world, but there's no way to really control your lane. It's just like this.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, we can go there, but it might not end up, you might get stuck there. That's my problem with that.
You could get stuck.
You know, I mean, like you hear the horror stories and that scares the hell out of you. Like, this guy's still on an acid trip for 25 years walking around, thinking people are chasing him, you know.
Acid in particular. Yeah, like Shine On You Crazy Diamond. And I think there's people that have a predisposition towards psychosis. There's certain people that have schizophrenia in their genes and in their answer. And for those people, it's very dangerous. You know what else is very dangerous for those people? Edible marijuana. Not just like what you think of as hardcore psychedelics, but I've known quite a few people that have eaten edible marijuana and have blown fuses.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's something I just recently did, which is pretty exciting for me. Was once again, the scientific information, I'm just going to wing it. But I tried this brain cap on. Okay, this has all these nodules like that can read the neurotransmitters in my brain. And it's connected to a computer. And you sit there for about a minute and you like kind of meditate on it, like focus on one thing. So you can start like reading your brain, basically your neurotransmission signals. And it's kind of like neural feedback on steroids, if you know anything about neural feedback. It gave me a list of categories of what I want to know about who I am. I always thought that I had a slight ADD. I never was diagnosed because I have like, if Joe Rogan's boring me, I might like turn over here, you know, like my inattention is just
normal.
Yeah, I know, right? But I was like, I don't have that bad of ADD where I can't concentrate to get things done because I get things done. But I do think about a lot more things than I think I should, maybe. So anyways, I did this test and it shows like your signals coming. And it has all these different things like anxiety, delusion, schizophrenia, attention, so forth, you know. Absolutely incredible. I was like, okay, I'm scared to press this button, schizophrenia. I'm really scared, but I want to know.
So it gives you the feeling of being schizophrenic?
No. It shows your brain activity
Oh, okay.
if you have a tendency to be schizophrenic.
I thought you were saying like there's a way for them
Oh, no.
to... like you want to feel what it feels like to be schizophrenic?
Yeah,
Bam.
no. That's like in the
13 on
future.
acid again.
But like I want to see if like do I have the neural pathways that a schizophrenic person would how they would think about the world.
Yeah.
So, I clicked on that and I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. Okay, good. So what about delusion? Okay, anxiety, low. Okay, so I got a lot of information out of that. So I guess the reason why I'm sharing that is that, you should try this out. I think it's something that I think you'd be interested in.
I am interested in.
Yeah.
Do you know the name of the equipment?
Well, they flew to me, just like I'm saying, like I love to meet groups and organizations and researchers and scientists, and these people knew I was putting it out to the world, and they flew all to me, like some from Colorado, some from Toronto, and they did this test on my head, on my brain.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I'll get you information on that.
Okay.
You can try it out and see if it's something that's like interests you, but I'm sure it will.
I'm in.
It's very exciting stuff.
It sounds... I hope I'm not crazy. Fuck. What do you do if you find out you're really insane? What do they put the thing on you and they're like, dude, you're fucked. We've never even seen results like this before. You need to be locked up. Then all of a sudden people come.
Well, you wouldn't even
coats.
know it, right? If you're
Right.
really crazy, you think that like, the 5 people are on the corner chasing after you. They're real. Or
Well, I
maybe
used
it's a
to-
beautiful mind kind
I
of
used to have a
situation.
bit about the problem with dumb people is that they're too stupid to know they're dumb. So they think everybody else is dumb.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
So if you're crazy, you might think everybody's crazy.
Right. Even like the brain
Yeah.
scan is making you crazy. It's like,
Or you might think
yeah.
that everybody else is crazy.
Right.
And then you do the brain scan like, no, it's you.
yeah, you're tricking me. You're doing something to me.
Like, have you ever met people that blame everyone else in their life
Yes.
for all their problems?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
And they can't see what we can see.
Yeah.
We can say, hey, man, it's you.
Yeah.
You are causing all
Yes.
of your problems.
Yes.
But yet
Yes.
you never are self-critical.
Yeah.
You're looking externally for all of your issues. You're criticizing everyone. But
Right.
you are the architect of your own demise.
Right.
And you don't even realize it.
I think that is one of the biggest problems for like why people are not finding their own success.
Yeah.
Because they keep blaming other people for problems when they could use that same time to actually focus on a small success that's realistic in their trajectory or whatever
Yes.
they're doing.
Yeah.
And I've seen that a lot with my, some people I know. They get stuck in that framework, and then there might be people that enable that same mindset.
Yeah, it's patterns as well. Like sometimes people develop these defensive patterns in order to protect themselves from reality.
Right.
And they put up these psychic shields to sort of protect themselves from self-critical ideas or externally critical ideas. And they just don't want to deal with change. They want to pretend that they're the fucking man, that they're the coolest, that they
Right.
get it. Everybody
Right.
else is dumb.
Yeah,
And God, it's such a toxic way to view the world.
it really is.
And the people that have that view gain no traction. They
Yeah.
almost always fall apart.
Yeah,
It's unsustainable. It's not a way to live your life.
no,
Yeah, it's fucking hard to see too, man. It's hard to see if you know someone that's like that. You almost kind of got to go, heck, man, I'm walking away. I
Yeah.
can't help you anymore.
yeah. Well, I think also for them, they see the success of other people, and they're like they want to be that, but they're like,
Yeah.
they obviously can't they just blame everyone that they can't be that person, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Instead of just like going, well, we got to take these small baby steps to get out of this funk, and then
Yes.
eventually, stop comparing yourself to other people, but compare yourself to yourself.
Yes. Look at yourself critically. But I think another thing that's really important is to enjoy other people's success instead of being jealous, which is a really common, easy to understand sort of an emotional reaction to other people's success. The best way to look at it, in my opinion, the best way to look at it is look at someone else doing amazing things and go, fuck, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Look what they've done.
Right.
Be excited by it and then be inspired.
Exactly.
You can use it as fuel in a positive way.
Right.
And then also there's no negative feeling. Like that person doesn't have to feel like you're fucking giving them the sour face because you're jealous and bitter and weird and you're looking to be critical of them and find flaws in them. Look at what they're doing. Look at if you were a guy who's coming up, right? And you wanted to be a guy who makes electronic music, and I'm sure you have haters.
Oh my God!
I'm
they're
sure.
lined up.
I'm sure. But
Yeah.
why? Why do you have haters? Because you're fucking awesome. That's why. Because what you're doing is fucking awesome. So instead of saying, man, this guy is inexhaustible, he's excited about what he's doing, he's got a real passion for creating things, people love it, and your attitude about making these shows and giving these people this amazing time and how much focus and energy you put into it, what a hater should look at that and go, I got to do more of that. I got to do more of that. I got to get more in that. But instead, they try to poke holes at you.
Right.
Fuck him, his music's bullshit.
Yeah.
Fucking cakes.
Yeah, exactly. That is a sore spot for people too.
I'm sure it is. It's awesome.
It's
Anything
funny.
awesome is a sore spot for assholes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there's nothing you can do about that. You just have to. You got to keep on being you. But for them, their hell and their prison is that they're focusing on you.
Yeah.
You know, they're hating and focusing on you.
Yep. Yeah. True words.
Yeah, it's a weird world being an entertainer, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a different kind of lifestyle, you know. It's, you know, I mean, actually, the strange thing is when I think about like fame or whatever, celebrityhood, when I walk through certain areas, I get like, I have to just go, okay, I have to accept the photos. I have to accept like people coming up to me. I don't want to be the asshole because I've been that kid going up to someone and they were mean to me and I'll be like, oh, that guy's a dick. You know, and they'll think of you that way for the rest of their life, even if you're just in a bad day or some, you know, you just.
The one that
wanna be
bothers
there.
me the most is people coming up to you while you're eating. I had a guy come up to me last night in the middle of like literally cutting food in a crowded restaurant.
Yeah.
And is hovering over the table trying to get me to get up and take a photo. I'm like, dude, what if I did that for everybody? Like, what if I just
Yeah, right,
This is a ridiculous request.
Yeah.
Like, you shouldn't do that. Like,
Yeah.
we're eating.
So what did you say? Did you
I
say?
said, okay, let's take a picture. I said,
Yeah.
we're in the middle of a meal. Not only that, we're in the middle. I was with Andrew Schultz, my buddy, and we were in the middle of talking too.
Yeah.
This guy just interrupted the conversation, wanted a picture. I was like, there's a time and a place for it.
Right.
If you want to say, hey, when you're leaving, can I get a picture? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But well, you got a mouthful of food and you're cutting food, and someone, come on, you can't interrupt meals.
Yeah.
That is a ridiculous request. Don't do
That happens to me all the time.
It's
but
stupid.
But you know what's really weird? In LA, it doesn't happen to me that much.
Well, LA people are more accustomed to seeing famous people.
Yeah, and they're like, I don't want to, you know, they just get it.
They don't want to bug you as much.
But
Yeah.
everywhere else, LA and New York, I'm not really bothered as much. But everywhere else, it's like, it's just gonna. I just have to accept it.
But you can't interrupt people while they're eating. That is just
Yeah.
one of those things.
I know.
Don't interrupt me when I'm eating. Don't interrupt me when I'm talking to my kids.
Right.
Like, it's a stupid thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
Like you have to have manners. You have to have some sort of an understanding that this is a human being
Right.
that is living their own life. And even though you're a fan of them, your being a fan does not take precedent. You can't just they don't owe you this.
Right.
You can't just interrupt their life, and you shouldn't want that. You
Yeah.
shouldn't want to interrupt someone in the middle of a conversation, in the middle of a meal,
Yeah.
in the middle of talking to their children. It's a
I-
foolish way to interact with them.
I remember one time I was, you know, in a deep conversation, just like you're talking about with someone outside of a casino, about to leave, and this guy is just drunk, and he's just like staring and like wobbling and like, you know, doing his thing, and I just see him hovering, and I'm not going to engage with him. I'm just talking, and finally I'm like, hey man, I'm just in the middle of a conversation, and you know, well, I didn't say we'll get a photo later. I'm like, well, I'll talk to you later because I didn't want to like be presumptuous. And I got done with the conversation, and he was just very aggressive, and I just ran. And I remember I ran to my car, and I'm like, I just don't want to get into this, you know, like, and he was chasing me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he's chasing me and just like, fuck you. I was your fan. And you like treated me like shit. This is how you treat your fans. I'm like, oh my God, this is just too much, you know? And like, and it stays with you, you know? Like, even though, I don't know.
That's part of the problem with Vegas too.
Yeah,
is
yeah,
that
yeah.
people are they're at New Year's Eve level every night.
Yeah.
You know that there's like a thing for New Year's Eve. Like
Yeah.
I stopped doing shows a couple years ago on New Year's Eve because every time I would do them, I was like, why does everybody think it's okay to be an asshole tonight?
Yeah.
People want to heckle, they want to yell things out. I was like, on New Year's Eve, I'm just going to stay home.
Yeah.
I'm just going to hang out. I'm not going to do shows because
Yeah.
it just seems too chaotic. It
Right.
just never feels good. Never feels like a real show. Well, Vegas is like, there's a lot of people that are running around like every night, like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Ah! They just going crazy. It's just,
Yeah.
it's such a wild place.
It's a hall pass. It's like,
Yes.
okay, we got to go big. We're here.
24-hour
Yeah.
drinking.
Right.
Yeah, free booze if you're gambling.
Yep.
It's like, what a wacky thing. We're going to give you a drug that fucks up your decision making, and then you're going to gamble everything you have.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is that legal? How is that legal? You're gambling enormous sums of money, and they're giving you alcohol.
Right.
It's just so crazy.
I know.
But I love it. I love that it exists. I love that there's a city where everything is kind of wild, where everything is like things are open. Like I play pool, and Vegas is one of the rare places where pool halls are 24 hours a day. So you can play pool till 5 o'clock in the morning, 6
Wow.
o'clock in the morning. You know, you and there'll be good players in there.
Yeah.
And you know, people who really appreciate pool. And you know, everything's 24. You can get good meals like really late at night. in
Yeah,
Vegas.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a wild place,
it
man.
really is.
But because you're a clean and sober guy, you avoid all the pitfalls.
Yeah. I think that's like how it works for me because
Yeah.
I'm not a strip club guy. You know, I've learned my lesson on gambling. I guess that
Did
was
you
like
used to gamble?
I did.
What'd
I
you
did.
used to play?
Blackjack mainly, and that's just the worst odds for you. Right?
What's the
So,
most you've ever lost in a night?
50K.
Dana White told me he lost $1 million one night,
Yeah, I'm not at that level.
but he won $7 million. And then when he won
Okay,
$7 million,
I'm a baby as far as like kind
he's
of losses.
crazy. Dana's crazy, but they kicked him out of the casino. They said he can't come back.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
You actually win. You like do well for yourself when the odds are stacked against
Yes.
you, and they kick you out. That's crazy.
Well, the crazy thing is, he's just gambling.
Yeah.
He just happened to win. Like, what are we doing? Is this really gambling, or are you
Right.
just stealing money from people?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, the guy won, and they like, you're not allowed to play here anymore.
Right.
But you know he's not stealing. He's
Yeah.
Dana White.
Yeah.
You know he's rich.
Yeah, yeah,
he's not-
exactly,
you
yeah.
know he's just a gambler.
Yeah.
So this is like real gambling. This is not like some guy with some sort of a scheme and he's cheating and
Yeah.
someone's doing something with the
Yeah,
cards.
yeah, exactly.
No, he's actually gambling.
Yeah.
And you're mad at him.
Right.
You're mad because you lost.
Yeah.
It's so
that's-
crazy they could
that's
just kick
crazy.
you out for
I know.
following the rules. And you can't come back. They'll ban you from the casino.
Yeah. I almost wish I was like, can I get to that level? I was like, can I get there where I've just won that much?
Fuck that, man. I'm
but-
not interested. I don't gamble at all. I used to gamble on fights.
Yeah.
But then I was like, "Ooh, maybe I shouldn't be doing this because I'm doing commentary on these fights.
Yeah.
And I'm gambling.
Conflict of interest.
But that was the early days, like the early 2000s, like 2003 and 4 and shit like that.
Yeah.
Because they would have some wacky numbers back then, too. Like guys would come in from other organizations and these odds makers didn't know who they were. And I was a fanatic. So
Right.
I knew who everybody was. I knew
Yeah.
these guys were fighting in Japan. I was like, bet on that. Bet everything on this motherfucker. Because there was times where a guy was the favorite and I was like, that guy has no chance. Like he's going to get murked.
Yeah, right.
And I was right like 80% of the time. Like my friend Aubrey and I've given him tips. I give him tips now because I don't gamble myself on
Right.
it. But we're like at a 86% winning
But
rate.
why stop then? Because you're commentating.
I don't.
Yeah.
There's no law against it. I can't affect the outcome, but I
Yeah.
don't want to be psychologically. I don't want to be subliminally influenced,
Right.
or subconsciously influenced, like
Yeah.
wanting someone to win.
Yeah.
Like if you've got $10,000 riding on a fight,
Yeah.
you're gonna want that guy to
Yeah.
win.
Right,
I don't
right,
care
right.
how much of a professional you are.
Yeah.
You know, when someone loses, you're gonna be like, "Fuck." And then like,
Yeah.
what are you fucking made? The whole
Yeah.
thing is like you're supposed to be there to do justice to the experience of these two guys going at it and giving their all. You're
Right.
not supposed to be hoping one guy wins.
Yeah, that's true. That's
but
true.
it's also really hard for me when a friend's fighting. You know, like
Yeah.
when Daniel Cormier fights is very hard for me.
To see
You
him
know, very
fight.
hard.
Yeah.
Like
Why-
the last fight with Stipe, and I love Stipe too, but to watch Stipe beat the shit out of Daniel was rough. It was
Right.
hard.
Yeah.
Because Daniel is such a good guy. I love that guy. and to watch him eat those left hooks to the body and then get beaten down, I was like, oh.
Oh, that must be hard.
And I'm commentating on it like it's an amazing thing I'm watching, right?
Right,
And it is
yeah.
amazing, so it's hard to separate. You know, when Brendan Schaub was fighting, it was the hardest. That was the hardest because I was good friends with him, and
Yeah.
I knew he really didn't want to fight anymore. And I was like, God damn it.
That must be really hard.
It was
when
really
he doesn't
hard.
want to fight anymore and he's just getting beaten.
He was getting beaten, and he was getting beaten bad, and I didn't see an end to it.
Who's the guy with the nose that went crooked just like this?
Recently, Mike Perry.
Oh, that!
Yeah,
oh my God, that
crazy.
picture's crazy.
Crazy.
I can't believe someone can continue fighting when their nose is literally across their face.
That dude's a savage.
I mean, you
He
have
is-
to be a savage.
He's
Like,
a 100% bona fide, dyed-in-the-wool savage.
like he literally, like, imagine what he's fighting through when he has his nose over here.
yeah.
It's his face has to be completely numb.
Well, no.
Or, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know.
Pain.
Okay.
Massive pain. The sinuses are one of the most sensitive areas of your face. When you get your nose shattered, first of all, you can't see. Your eyes are watering, and his nose is pouring blood.
Oh,
so
my-
he's getting choked, right? He's in the middle of getting choked. Look at his nose. Like, that is the worst fucking nose I've ever seen in my life. Of all the years of calling fights, the only thing that comes close is Rich Franklin when he fought Anderson Silva. Pull up Rich Franklin's nose versus Anderson Silva, and you'll see similar but not quite as horrific. But the thing is about Rich Franklin was bummed out about his nose, whereas Mike Perry was like, "Fuck yeah." He didn't. You look at the one, the far left, right there, far left, right there. Click that one. That's the one where Anderson Silva sort of reconstructed his nose. It's hard to see in that picture. Make it larger.
So that's his nose after.
Yeah, it's all shifted off to the
Yeah,
left.
yeah.
See how it looks all fucked up?
Wow.
But that ain't shit compared to Mike Perry's. Mike Perry's is the worst nose in the history of the sport.
Did they? I mean, what does he look like now?
Who's that guy's nose? Click on that one in the middle. Above.
Looks
right
like
there.
Gronk a little bit.
Jesus.
Wow.
Whose fucking nose is that? Jesus.
It went up into his forehead. Looked like.
His worst nose breaks in the UFC. Who is that dude?
Yeah, he looks like half his nose is up in his eyelids.
Oh my God, that's just swelling, right? But look how March shift. Ryan McGilvray. Woo, that's rough. Wow, Jesus Christ.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, not
He's
good
still
to get hit in
smiling.
the nose.
He's
Yeah.
still smiling.
There's Shogun. Shogun's nose got fucked up too. I think that was against John Jones. Yeah. Kung Lee. Yeah, Kung Lee's nose got shattered. Yeah, man. And then you got to get it all reconstructed, and they got to sort of stitch the bones back together again, and like, because if you get this bone shatters, I'm like, oh man, there's not much there. You know, it's such a if you feel that bone, it's like so gentle,
Right.
so delicate.
Yeah.
If you take a knee there, like,
Oh,
ooh, it's-
that's how they're breaking it, right?
yeah. He's all right now.
Wow,
what
he looks
like
pretty
now?
good.
Damn, they did an amazing job. He's eating pizza. Is
I
that
mean-
Aoki pizza? No, it's Devour
But
pizza.
the crazy thing is, his nose looked like the worst situation that you could possibly get in, and his nose now looks pretty normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where the other guys' noses are just like that one guy with the bulge right by his eyebrows, like, and his nose is still curved to the right, and he's
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
smiling. Like, you'd assume Mike Perry would have that kind of nose after that kind of
No,
situation.
that guy's right after the fight. Mike Perry had to go through extensive surgery
Yeah.
overseas. Where
Oh,
was
right.
that? Where does that fight take place? Uruguay.
Uruguay, yes, all the way
Yeah.
down South America.
Yeah, so he had to stay there and get really extensive surgery. He
Wow.
was there for several days just to try to recover before he could fly home.
The scary thing is he's gonna get back in the ring,
Fuck yeah, he is. He loves it.
and then that bone that he's gonna have is gonna break down again. Is it gonna be weaker, or is it gonna?
I wish I could tell you. I don't know. You know, it really depends.
Because imagine
entirely.
if it just shatters again. He's got to do it again.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, how many
Vanderlei
times?
Silva got his nose reconstructed. What is this?
Not a UFC, but it's called EFC in
EFC
Africa.
in Africa?
Got kicked in the face.
Oh my
Oh,
god. Oh my
jeez.
god, that's the worst nose ever. That's worse than Mike Perry's.
Oh my, that's horrible.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Look at that guy's nose.
Well, that's the one that grew on his head.
Oh, the other guy on the bottom is a guy who
Yeah.
got his nose damaged somehow or another, and they grew it on his head.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's enough of that nose.
It's a hard business, man. What kind of exercise do you do?
I like hit training.
High intensity stuff?
Yeah, high intensity. And kind of like blending two worlds. I stopped gambling in the casino, but I love gambling with my friends. And I love making prop bets on, just my recent one was a body fat challenge. Because I was at 19.6 April 14th.
19%?
Yeah. And then I dropped to, the bet was if I can drop to 10% in 3 months.
Oh, that's easy.
Well, maybe for someone that really understands how to do that. But I wanted to get there, and I just when I work out, I kind of work out just on being healthy and cardiovascular and just just staying in shape. But I never thought I'd get below 10%.
You must have changed your diet pretty
Yeah.
radically.
Oh yeah.
Cut out sugar, cut out bread, cut
Exactly.
out pasta, all that stuff.
Stay below 1,800 calories.
And you are you vegetarian still?
No, I eat chicken and fish, but I stopped eating. I don't eat any cows or cows, pork, pig, or lamb or anything like that. But I pretty much stay with chicken and fish as my proteins.
And are you? Look at you, motherfucker, working out, looking pretty shredded. You're way below 10% there. What are you there?
I think I'm 12.
Really? Right there?
Yeah, because
where are you keeping your fat in your brain? That doesn't make any sense. You look
no,
shredded.
it's in my abs. I mean, I'm probably where I am now because I've the bet ended in July 14th, but I did win the bet, so I made 15 grand for my friends.
That's funny.
But that's like how I'm motivated to do things. I like to make bets with people, to have these little challenges, and then with that timeline, then I work with my trainer who's holding the towel down, and he trains me every time I'm home, and he gets me on my meal plans. So I deal with him all the time.
Do you do like a meal prep service?
I do it through his company.
Okay.
Yeah, so I do
What's
that.
the name of his company?
Diced Kitchen, I think. Diced Kitchen.
He's your friend.
Huh?
You know
Yeah,
his
but it just gets my assistant puts it in the fridge. But
But it's all like chicken and vegetables. And
yeah,
clean
pretty much
eating.
turkey, chicken, fish, and then veggies.
And you drop down to 1,800 calories a day?
Drop down to 1,800 calories a day, and this is the hard part: is I'm on the road.
Ooh.
Well, more than 60% of the days when I was not touring across Europe, and when I'm touring across Europe, all summer long I'm gone.
So how are you getting really healthy food every meal when you're doing this?
I round ball, eyeball kind of my calorie count whenever I eat, and I have my MyFitnessPal as my judge.
What is that? MyFitnessPal, is that an app?
It's an app, yeah, Under Armour app that I just put in all my food. So I just use it to just make sure that I'm eyeballing this 1,800 calorie deficit kind of diet, and then just avoid the over starchy, over carby foods, and focus more on eating the proteins and the veggies. And
Do
then
you take vitamins or supplements?
Yeah, I try to switch it on and off. Like I said, before, after I met Ray, I was like, okay, I need to just find out what I'm deficient in, and I'm going to just load up on those. And then I went to see Dr. Grossman, who kind of gave me my 22-page pack of my telomere links to cancer markers if I have them, to what I'm allergic to what I'm deficient in. And then I followed that regimen of what the vitamins I was taking, some of which I still take. One is called Celergen. It's kind of like the closest thing to a stem cell injection if you can swallow it. It's it's got this a lot of anti-aging properties in it. Celergen.
What's in it?
Look it up, and you could do your Joe Rogan research on that and give me some more. But I just trusted my doctor on this one.
Okay.
But it's expensive. It's like $10 a pill.
Really? Pull that up. Celergen.
And I take
Jamie has skeptical hippo face.
and I also take
website of
Progert.
Progert. What's
Yeah,
that?
so it's 1 trillion probiotics.
Oh wow.
It's in a little, I take that every day.
Really?
For the
Swiss Cell Therapy, Celergen. Hello there. Thank you for visiting Celergen's online store. Pop-up window, boink. So, this is, what is it? $2,000 for 6 months. Damn, it is expensive.
It's very expensive.
And what is it backed by? Cellular marine complex, peptide E collagen, bio DNA, hydro MN peptide. Sounds like you're gonna piss hot, sir. Other ingredients include lutein, grape skin extract, selenium, which is important, coenzyme Q10. I take that.
That's one thing that Ray Kurzweil really pushes is that Q10.
Yeah, it's great for cognitive function.
Yeah.
Do you fuck around with mushrooms at all? I mean, like healthy mushrooms, like lion's mane or anything like that?
No,
Really good stuff. That's what I've been drinking. This is all lion's mane elixir.
I'll try that
Yeah, I
out.
drink this shit all the time. It supports brain function.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like anything that's about the brain. I want to know more about.
Yeah,
you
this is
know.
one of my sponsors. This is Four Sigmatic. I'll have them send you some of this stuff. It's
Please,
great.
please.
And then we actually have lion's mane that we put in the coffee too. Yeah, and then Laird Hamilton's superfood shit. Have you seen that coffee machine that I have out here?
No.
Ooh, I'm gonna get you some. Do you drink coffee?
Yes, I do.
Okay, when we wrap this up, I'll make you a nice cup of turmeric coffee.
Oh, I love turmeric coffee.
Yeah, well,
I'm a fan.
Laird Hamilton has this amazing machine out there that he gave us. We got one of the first machines, and it's he mixes coconut oil, coconut milk, turmeric, organic coffee, and it's fucking delicious, and it's actually very good for you.
Wow.
And then he also has like this bag of mushrooms, cordyceps mushrooms and lion's mane. You can scoop that in there. But lion's mane in particular is one I'm really interested in because it supports brain function. You know, and have you ever seen the work of Paul Stamets? Do you know who he is?
No.
I'll turn you on to him and send you a link to the podcast that I did with him. He'll blow your fucking mind when he's talking about the power of functional mushrooms, not just mushrooms like psychedelic mushrooms, which he's into that as well. He thinks that psychedelic mushrooms in low doses are like one of the most powerful nootropics that you could have, like micro dosing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead of getting blitzed out of your mind and going into another dimension, you're taking just a little bit every day, just a little tiny bit. And it gives you this like overwhelming feeling of operating at a very high function. It's a weird feeling, but it's that micro-dosing psilocybin thing is swept through the fighter community. There's a lot of fighters that are training while they're micro-dosing mushrooms.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very interesting.
Why are they
Very
doing that?
interesting.
Why is it trainers? Why?
Well, Donald Cerrone's really into it, and a few other fighters have followed suit. And Donald, I think, started doing it because of Joe Schilling, who's a world champion kickboxer, and he's fighting for Bellator now. And they just find that there's something about the way it interacts, the way the psilocybin, and particularly in low doses, interacts with your brain, that it just seems to supercharge your ability to understand what a person's doing, like specifically according to Joe, when he's sparring with people.
Wow.
He says he like almost can like read their minds.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. I know a lot of people, a lot of skiers like to microdose. It's becoming this a thing where people try to take like a functional amount. So like you're not getting blitzed. You're just taking.
What is a functional amount?
That's a good question. Good question.
Like a tea, like a
stem.
like a little drop.
No.
But that's even.
I mean, the best way to find out what it would be to grind it up so you know the exact ounces and then put it in a capsule and then figure it out. And I think that's what a lot of these guys are doing. It's just very unfortunate that is a Schedule I drug.
Yeah,
because it's a natural life form that grows on Earth. It's a fungus. You know, it's not a drug.
Yeah.
And it's got some pretty potent positive qualities to it.
Right.
But outside of anything that's psychoactive or psychedelic, that lion's mane stuff is the shit.
Well, let's put it in
Really
this water
good.
right now then.
Come on, son. Here you go, baby.
It's gonna be
One of these
it's
for
gonna
you.
be my Elon Musk smoking weed moment right now.
Sort of. Nobody gets high off lion's mane. I cut it open for you.
Cool, thank you.
So other than this cell stuff, what is it again? What's it called? Cellergen?
I wish I had like someone from my team kind of give me my whole list, because I take a lot of brain cognitive stuff that
Nootropics?
some can be considered that way, but it's from my doctor that from what I do enough research on the doctors, and they tell me kind of what I should take, and I go, okay, let's try this out, see if my performance increases, and then I stop. So I'll do it for like a month, and I'll stop, and I'll take a different I have like 2 different routes of vitamins, and I take a different route and see if that changes my patterns or how what my performance is like. And I kind of like just experiment over and again.
Have you ever done the isolation tank?
Floating in
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Do you do that?
I did it twice. It's very new to me, but it's incredible.
Yeah. You need one of those in your life.
Yes.
You should get one of those in your crazy fun house.
I know. I was thinking about that. There's one place in Henderson where I live that does that. So I was going to first do that first there.
Yeah, do it, man. We have one here.
Yeah. I mean, like the last 2 years, like the ice plunges, I just learned that, the
Oh, you
Wim
do
Hof
that?
method.
Yeah.
Love
Cool.
that.
Wim
Love
Hof's
that.
amazing.
I've never met him in person, but
He's great.
Yeah, I know he's in your lane, friends.
Yeah. He's a
But-
character, man.
Yeah, I've seen the documentaries. Like that's like the Vice documentary.
That guy
first
doesn't
got me
watch
into
his
him.
diet at all. He drinks beer and eats spaghetti. Like, he's fucking ridiculous, but he doesn't give a shit. He goes to Everest fucking barefoot.
Yeah,
climbs
it's
Everest.
crazy.
Yeah, he climbs Everest in his shorts. It's like, it's too easy.
Yeah,
He's like,
but he gets other people to do it with him to show
Yeah.
that like anyone could do that.
yeah.
It's
He's
incredible.
He's a unique human being, like a really truly unique human being in the sense that he's just talking about breathing. He's not talking about doing some sort of incredible athletics that, a rare few people can achieve. No, he's talking about concentrating on your breathing and understanding how you can inhale like deeper breaths and concentrate on the breath, and that in doing so you're changing your physiological state. And he's got a whole program that shows you how to do it correctly, and it enhances your immune system and enhances your awareness, and it's wild shit.
It's
man.
incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I try to do that breath work whenever I possibly can. There's 2 people that I've worked with that trained underneath Wim. One of them is in Mallorca, Spain. So whenever I'm in Mallorca, Spain, I meet up with him. We do the breath work, holding breath exercises, and then we do the ice bath. And then I have one that's based in San Diego, this woman, and she comes out to Vegas. And then I like to do the group dynamic ice bath. So I have this like pool that's not an ice bath, but it's 50 degrees. So it's cold enough to like feel it.
That's fucking cold.
Yeah, exactly. So I get like whoever wants to join me. We do like this group kind of, huddle. We get in there. We come out. We do the breath work, hold our breath. And it's a great way to get people together and experience something like that too.
No, that's awesome, man. The UFC Training Center, the Performance Institute in Vegas, has this hot bath right next to a cold plunge, and they have people going back and forth between the two. Have you ever been to that place?
Yeah, I shot my music video there because I had Bruce Buffer featuring on a song of mine called "It's Time."
Oh, that's hilarious.
It's funny I didn't bring that up earlier because you're so tied in with UFC, but we shot the video there. I was training to fight the other DJ that I made the song with, and Bruce.
You were
Bruce
training
Buffer.
to fight a DJ?
Well, I mean, the video is like
the video you're training to fight the DJ.
right.
Oh, okay.
At the UFC facility.
Yeah.
And this legendary UFC fighter, I'm spacing on his name, he was training me, so it was kind of cool to have him there with me.
What do you look like?
Well, you could pick up the video.
Okay, I'll find
Can I run and use the bathroom real quick?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Hold this piss.
Here we go. So we're watching it on the video. Aoki versus Luke. There's Bruce Buffer. So who's training him, though? There's all these people running around. Bruce Buffer. Who's training him? I don't see any UFC guy training him, but you keep jumping ahead. We're not going to see it.
They're not focusing on there. Yeah, see, it's too quick.
Yeah, but who is that? Oh, it's Ken Shamrock.
Shamrock, I was to say.
Oh.
I'll show him eventually here.
Oh, there you go. Ken Shamrock screaming in his face with sunglasses on. He's a trip, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's a very interesting guy.
Yeah, cake me.
Cake me. Oh my God, that's hilarious. Okay. He's it's so interesting when you see all these different people have these different paths in life, and you go, oh, okay, you could go down that path too. Like the Steve Aoki path is so different than most paths. And I think that one of the cooler things about talking to people is you get this sense that the way you can live your life is not as rigid as people would have you believe. They'd have you believe that there's only a few different ways to go about this, or there's not that much variability. We're saying nice things about you. You just returned. We watched. It was Ken Shamrock. He was the legendary fighter. Yeah.
So he was like You know,
Yeah.
when you're like, I was hanging like this and you just like slap my stomach and stuff. It was
Right.
so cool.
Yeah, we were watching it. Sunglasses screaming at you.
Exactly.
Do you do any martial arts training?
You know, strangely enough, like my biggest hero growing up is Bruce Lee. So, you know, in the beginning, I started wanting to learn Jeet Kune Do and
Did you see Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Not yet.
There's a scene in there that's very negative about Bruce Lee. I loved the movie. I really enjoyed it. I'm a huge Tarantino fan. I think he's awesome. But
I heard there's controversy around that, but I didn't see that
It's
part.
very, very controversial because he made Bruce Lee look like a buffoon.
Oh,
Like
that sucks.
A really arrogant buffoon.
Wow.
And I don't think there's any evidence that he was ever really like that.
Yeah.
But, you know, Tarantino sort of dug his heels in and sort of defended it. But I don't think he knows the culture because he's not a martial artist. I think
Right.
he looked at Bruce Lee as sort of like this historical figure that's, you know, kicking people's asses in movies. And I think to understand Bruce Lee the way you do or the way I do, where he was my childhood hero as well, it's like he's the guy that's really responsible for mixing martial arts. When you talk about mixed martial arts, like all credit has to go to the Gracies because they're the ones who, you know, Helson Gracie and Horian and Hoyce and Hickson and that family was responsible for really showing people jiu-jitsu, and also Horian invented the UFC. So without Horian and his contributions, we might not have ever known what we know today.
Right.
But Bruce Lee was on that path a long time ago.
Yeah.
He had figured out a long time ago that you got to find what's useful in all different styles of martial arts.
Exactly.
He's also deeply entrenched in philosophy,
Yeah.
and he was a brilliant guy. So they made him look like this buffoon in the movie.
That sucks.
I didn't like it.
That's like one of the main things about Bruce Lee that I loved about him was that his philosophy.
Yeah.
He had a lot of things to say about life.
Yes.
Like the martial arts was one thing that's like what made him cool, made him such a badass. But it's his philosophy, the words behind all that,
Yeah.
and how it can reflect on everyone.
Be
And-
like water.
And the best part for me is that he's an Asian face, because I mean, at the end of the day, you think about what's out there in the media and popular culture. You don't see an Asian face that's loved and by all different ethnicities.
Yeah, he's the number one.
He's the like every, doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, purple, yellow, whatever you are, you have to honor like one of the greats.
Everybody likes Bruce Lee.
And he's Asian, so he
Yes.
represents something very powerful for Asian people.
How many Chinese dudes got laid because of Bruce Lee?
Exactly.
Fuck, man. The number's probably, if you think about the main, like,
Well,
if
how
you've
many
got
Chinese
history-
people that got laid with non-Chinese women?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
A
like,
lot.
because at the end of the day, like
Yes.
the women love Bruce Lee.
Everybody loves
Yeah,
Bruce Lee.
everybody.
Yeah.
And there hasn't been someone like that, you know, that has that striking feeling that's Asian in popular culture like that, you know.
He's
so
also like the first guy that was really shredded in movies.
Yeah.
You know, he'd take his shirt off.
yeah, you definitely got that stance down too. He's just like, oh, yeah.
He was fucking shredded.
Yeah.
And you would look at him and you go, God, that guy's body's ridiculous. Like everybody wanted that body.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to be lean and muscular and
That's
he
where I
was
got
so
my room
fast.
at my house, that Bruce Lee
Yeah,
room.
Game of Death, right?
Yeah,
Was that Game of Death or
that's
Enter the Dragon?
That's Enter the Dragon's. At least for me, I got the mirror room from Enter the Dragon, but the mirror room scene is way more mirrors, like kind of in different degrees. Angles.
Yeah, it was Enter the Dragon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Enter the Dragon. Fuck, that was a good movie. And for the time, those movies, you know, if people don't like them or do like them, what's interesting about Bruce is the style of fighting in those movies, like jumping, flying kicks and all that stuff. That's not what he advocated at all. He did that purely for the cinematic value of
Right.
it. He wanted to make it exciting and flashy.
Yeah.
Like he was all about kicking people in the knees and punching people in the throat. You know, like he was about like really effective techniques
Yeah.
that you could use to end a fight in seconds. You know,
Right.
that was what he was all about.
Yeah.
But what he did do was there was like two big bursts in martial arts, and Bruce Lee was responsible, in my opinion, for the first. He was responsible for getting people excited about training martial arts and seeing this guy that could kick everybody's ass, and like this guy was like, he was quiet and humble, but when it came time to throw down, he'd take his shirt off and fuck everybody up.
Yeah.
And then the next stage was the UFC. Those are like, in my lifetime, the two big, and really culturally, the two big leaps in martial arts was people getting into Bruce Lee because of getting into martial arts because of Bruce Lee movies. And then, of course, Chuck Norris movies.
Yeah.
And then the next one was getting into martial arts because of the UFC.
Right.
So it was a bummer. It was a bummer that they made him look like a dope.
That sucks. I was excited to watch that movie because I thought that Bruce Lee was going to look like a badass. Because in the trailer, you're like, oh no, Bruce Lee's in there. Like, it's going to be cool with Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, Quentin Tarantino. This is going to be epic.
It's a fucking great movie though. Don't let it hold you back because the movie's fun as shit. I really enjoyed it. It's a fun. I mean, like, I like all his movies. I loved Hateful Eight. A lot of people don't like Hateful Eight. I loved it. I think his movies are. If you're into like a Tarantino movie, like I like his style of making
Pulp
movies.
Fiction,
Django.
They're
wild.
they're great
movies.
films. Yeah. Absolutely great films. I'm such a fan.
I'm just glad he's out there because it's like there's moments in that movie where I don't want to. I'm not going to give anything away, but there's moments in Hollywood where you go, I can't believe you could still do this in a movie. Like in this day and age, like you're allowed to do that in a movie. He goes hard in the paint.
Yeah.
But the Bruce Lee things, whatever you gonna do, it wasn't real. The real Bruce Lee is what's interesting and exciting to me.
Right.
I
mean, that's where like my record label Dimmock. It's you know what Dimmock is.
Sure,
yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily tied to Bruce Lee, but it's my way of like, instead of calling it Bruce Lee Records, or I Love Bruce Lee Records,
right.
I was like, well, this is this mysterious death touch. And, there's like this mystery around that's connected sort of to Bruce Lee.
There's, it would be really interesting if there really was a Dimmock, like a mysterious death touch, if it was real. But a lot of fucking people believe in it. Have you ever seen those videos on
when
Instagram?
When the old man goes toof, toof,
and
toof,
people
toof.
fall down?
Yeah.
There's McDojo Life on Instagram. It's got a shitload of them. This guy just collects them all. And there's so many of them that are so ridiculous. I posted one a couple of days ago of this. It looks like an Aikido guy, and he's just like doing this. Like watch this video. The guy comes at him. He's like pushes him away. Oh, I make you fall down. Look at it's like so goofy. He's standing there like you fall down. Look at him. You are on the ground. You have no power here. It's so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's
this guy's like playing like he believes it.
Yeah.
It's so fucking
It's
corny.
like those evangelical preachers that like they touch someone's head and the guy's like falling over.
Yeah, it's and they're all practicing it. Look, like they're all practicing all this nonsense that will get you killed in a real fight.
Yeah.
And these guys are leaving their house. They're putting on their fucking outfit.
Right.
They really think that this is real, that this is actually happening.
Yeah.
It's so corny.
It really is.
What you gonna do? But listen, man, I really enjoyed talking to you. I appreciate you coming out
thanks
here,
for
man.
having me.
Your book, Blue, The Color of Noise, is available right now, right?
It is. It's out everywhere.
Did you do the audiobook? Did you read it?
I read there's drops in there. It's called what I call drops. They're like these small little chapters between the chapters. So I read those. I tried to read the whole book, but I was touring all summer, so I could only read the drops.
That's too bad, man.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear you read it,
Yeah.
especially since it's your life.
Yeah,
right?
there is like 10 drops, so you can hear me talk about it in my tone and my voice.
And if people want to catch your live show, where can they get information on where to go?
SteveAoki.com.
All right.
Everything's Steve Aoki online. It's pretty simple.
All right. Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Bye, everybody.